item on our workshop will be our code enforcement. So if we could have Frank Sinelli come and talk about, I asked Frank to come share with the council what they've been doing on code enforcement, in particular with summer rentals.
Hey, I'm Frank Sinelli, code enforcement for Belmar. I just want to go over a few items that we did this year. We did close to 300 inspections, summer rentals for this year. And since this is the third season now that we enacted the new policy where we don't give the landlords a checklist anymore. They have to take a look at the checklist and take care of the things. So last year, 107 12th Avenue, they failed. And we made them renovate the house, and we gave them 2 weeks right before Memorial Day. They did it. But since last year, they put $60,000 into the house this year. They put new windows, new siding, they sheet-wrapped all the interior walls, and they put a brand new front deck in. On 217 14th Avenue, they failed the inspection, the first inspection this year. And what we did was we made them paint the exterior and the interior of the house. It took them 2 weeks. And afterwards they got done, they paid the $250 and they did it. And 207 16th Avenue, they failed also. They had to redo the front deck on the house. We told them last year about it, they never did it. They thought they were gonna get by and do it this fall. So we did tell them, we said, we're not gonna pass you. They had to put a whole new front deck in, and they did that. Also, the owners were told last year in the office that for the owners of the house, we told them that they all have to do improvements for the next year. So if we go to the house, we want to see something done from the year before to the new year that they did improvements. And so far, a lot of them have been following. We only had 6 failures out of 300 this year, which I think is pretty good.
6 failures on the first pass.
On the first, but they did pass on the second round.
Out of 300.
And the second round, they did pass.
Okay. And I think there were 3 or 4 houses that we did not permit to apply.
There were
for
three.
Three.
3 this year that weren't allowed to have rentals this year.
Sorry to interrupt.
And there were, last year, there were two houses that we condemned, so they didn't rent also this year. And one major house on 14th Avenue, 215 14th, which is 12 bedrooms on one side and 14 bedrooms on the other side. Mr. Stram owned that house. He sold it, and this year it's not rented, and they're gonna renovate the whole house. And they're gonna put, the owner is gonna live on the first.
215, 14?
215 14th, right up from the
That's
flyer.
the really big one?
The real big one that Mr. Stram had.
2 front doors?
Right.
2 blue doors?
There was a 12 bedroom on one side, 14 on the other. Big house, big problem last year. And it's not rented this year, it's sold, and they're renovating, and the new owner is supposedly gonna live there and put apartments above it. He's putting plans in for that. Another major problem was 118th Avenue, across from DJ's. The owner is a very nice owner. He's an absentee owner, he's not here. And we kept calling him last year, the garbage, and he finally got fed up. He said he couldn't do it anymore, so he sold it also. So that house is not rented this year, so it's another big problem that we had last summer that we don't have this year. So it seems like the landlords and the realtors are understanding where we're coming from now, which I think the realtors is a big part of it. Century 21, I think, does probably 80% of the rentals in town, and they understand. They call us all the time, and they know what we're looking for. And when we have a major problem, we call them and we say, you know, shame on you, you know what the routine is.
Now, when we decided to give the landlords one option, a one-time pass for free, and after that, again, we charge $250, and then it ratchets up to $500.
500 the third.
And after the third one, if you fail and we don't inspect you, we won't issue a CO before Memorial Day.
Right.
We had a lot of backlash on that from the property owners the first year, if you remember. How do you think that's working today?
You know what, the realtors thought that it was, the Belmar was doing it for the money. They thought that Belmar was doing this, the reason they were doing this was they wanted to get extra money. And we explained to them, we do not want to come back. We don't have the time to come back. We want you to do it right the first time and get it right for us. And we explained that to us. We're not here to fail you. we're here to tell you this is the routine, this is what has to get done. And it seems like they've been listening. We had a pretty good season, I thought.
If I could interject, part of what code enforcement has done that has been so helpful with the 100th of April is that we provide the full checklist prior to the first inspection. So we did it as a resource tool, so that if we can check every box on this list when we come to inspect, you're good to go. And I think that also helped to shift that.
Absolutely.
There was this misconception that Belmar was looking to generate revenue off of inspections. No, we were just trying to drive it to a best practice, and that's what's happened.
There's like minor items on the list. We have a new routine now that the carbon monoxide detector must be no more than 18 inches off the ground because the carbon dioxide rises. A lot of people don't understand that, so they're putting it a little higher, but we don't fail them for that. We just tell them just drop it down and move it, and they move it. So simple stuff like that, but they are obliging with everything.
Well, it seems as though, and going to inspections with you, that there are still a large number of summer rentals, but the condition of those summer rentals, both inside and out, has improved significantly
Absolutely.
over the last 3 years.
Absolutely. Not to take any credit, but I'm here 3 years.
My pop's not here.
Take all the credit, right?
Any questions or comments for?
Frank, what hours do you work on weekends? I mean, what time do you start?
We go in at 6:30 in the morning and we work till like 1, 2 o'clock. 6:30 to around there, but it's according to how busy it is. Like this weekend was a little slower, we were done at 12:30 because of the rain.
And when you find a house that's overcrowded, what do you do there?
We really don't do the overcrowding because you're not allowed to go into a house unless they invite you in. So that's more the police that do overcrowding during the night. If they get a call and they're entering the house, we're on the outside. If we ring the bell, if they don't let us in, we really can't go in. It's illegal.
Okay.
But what we do is we do if the garbage is on the front of the house. So what we did Memorial Day weekend, which I think works out good every year, Bob and I went around to the houses on Saturday morning, and the people that had cups and beer bottles and cans and garbage in the front, we rang the bell, we brought them outside, and we pointed out, said, that's a $250 fine, that's a $250 fine, this is a $250. We're not gonna fine you, that's a warning. But next week if we come back, this will be a fine. And they were all appreciative, they liked it, they thought it was a great idea, they said, thank you so much, we appreciate it. And I said, you know, these are the streets that the tourists come to when they go to the beach. The first thing they see is your house with beer cans and bottles, and you know they don't want to see it. So all we ask you to do is not to. You can have all the parties you want. Just at the end of the night, pick up because we start at 6:30. And we'll explain to them we start early in the morning. You know, so there's nothing we can do. We pass by and get something. And it seems to work. You know, last year we had a couple of guys that thanked us. They said, you guys were right. You can give us a ticket. We appreciate it. You did warn us. So it seems that we're working out.
If a house is an animal house, how is that affecting the landlord this year? Or does it affect the landlord next year?
There's been a list of animal houses. I mean, people can attest to that. They have to pay an extra fee that they put up front as an animal house. And if they become an animal house next year, the fee increases, it just increases every year. But that really has nothing to do with us. We have a list of the animal houses. We know which ones they are, but it's more a fee charge that they charge to the town.
That's more in terms of a coordination between the police department and April Claudio. So we get reports every Monday morning about noise ordinances issued. That would generate into an animal house hearing. If they're not already at max bond, the bond could go up and the landlord might have to post more. What is new and was in effect this year that we made reference to was the new ordinance where if you are an animal house at max bond and you get even one more noise ordinance after that max bond, we deny you a CO. So there was 3 homes that were denied a CO this year.
So 3
Yes.
homes were denied.
Correct.
We enforce that.
Correct.
But they can rent yearly. They can't rent summer,
Sure.
but they can rent yearly.
They have recourse. They would be able to rent yearly if they so chose.
Any
I
other?
just wanted to, I'm sorry, but we have about 300 seasonals
Yes.
in your 3 brilliant years here. How is that, like, we just had it going up, going
Down,
down?
it's going down. It started years ago. The
Going down.
maximum said was like 1,000 years ago.
Oh, I know.
No, in the last 3 years.
And it's been the same.
Right.
Last,
Sounds like-
this year or last year, I think we're 10 less than last year.
It's been under 3 for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's right around last year, which is good.
The one thing I
I
see
think
too
that
is people who are renting their house just for a month.
Yeah.
You know, they're renting for July for $25,000, right? Or August for
We
$20,000.
do have a couple that are doing weekly rentals to families, which I think is a great idea for the
I do
town.
too.
It's, the homes that are doing that are beautiful homes, so they're getting families coming in and.
Do they need a CO inspection every week then? or
No, it's a special CO that they get, and we do it in the beginning, and then the owner checks it after each week. It's a special, instead of going back with us every week, it's a different type CO that they pay for a weekly rental.
I just want to quickly say I was able to go around with you and Bob, and it was very eye-opening because I thought the first thing that jumped out was how strict and detailed you were. Like you caught every little nook and cranny, but also that everybody was very respectful. They listened to you, they got it down, they would fix it, it wasn't any kind of argument. To see the numbers is fine like that is great. So
And it helps that Bob is 6'4", you know, so that helps.
when I was there, no. Thank you. But it was a great experience, and I think you're doing a great job, and I think people will understand the importance of it.
No, the town is looking good.
They have a very good cop, bad cop shtick. It's worth seeing.
You're
Yeah.
not supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Just give away the
Sorry.
head copy.
I'm sorry.
And you
But
can probably
thank
tell.
you.
One time we come to a council.
My value added.
No, I just want to say that I worked a lot of years, weekends with Bob and Frank, and they do a great job.
Who'd you like better, Bob or Frank?
But they really do work hard to get out there and really make a difference in the town. And we do appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Now, one last question.
Sure.
Where are you gonna take your wife Jennifer now, since you made her sit through this?
Got to stay local, the Marina Grill, where else?
Enjoy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Nothing like taking your wife to a council meeting. Okay, so next, Brian, you wanna talk about something on the workshop?
Do we want to do the Magpie Rescue or the tree? Okay. Yes. This is something that we've been working so hard for last couple of years, was to make Belmar a Tree City USA. And hours of work. And I have two board members here with me today to share with this honor. Sal Suselli, who works for the DPW, come on up, Sal. Sal goes around and he's checking out the hazardous trees, he's doing the pruning of the dangerous branches. And Janet Rosehandler did all the writing of the reports. And what was it, 30 pages? 30-page application. Finally, we got approved by the state of New Jersey as a Tree City USA, which allows us to apply for grants, which are so difficult to get. But they sent us this flag, and for those of you that have been coming for many years, it used to hang right up there. And the last time we had it was in 2004. And we finally got it back where Belmar is designated a Tree City USA. So, a lot of hard work. Thank you. Sal, do you want to say anything about how many trees you cut down? We don't go to private properties. We don't take down trees on private properties.
I'd rather not talk about the trees I've taken down, but we've planted over 27 in the last 2.5 months. So we're on our way back up from Sandy.
Yeah. And we're finding that trees are still showing the effects and now are dying from Sandy just years later. They've been struggling and finally they've come to the end. You know, the big trees are dying, and we try and pinpoint which ones are hazardous, which means it's got like a dead branch, a dead limb somewhere, and it's got a target. Car parked underneath it, someone riding a bicycle, someone walking on the sidewalk. So we try and get that down. However, most of the responsibility for these, what we call street trees that are between the sidewalk and the street, are the responsibility of the homeowner. And taking down a tree is rather expensive, but we do what we can to bring that to the attention of the residents. A tree arborist, when they come in, they do ask permission. Hopefully they go to April and before they take down a tree without the permission. But we'd like to know where the trees are that they're taking down so we can keep track of that. And Janet does all the hard work. She's filling out the applications.
We had to have a community forestry management plan for 5 years. And that is a plan to replant, to take down, to assess, to do a tree inventory, and a ton of other things. So we got that all done. In order to get the Tree City, we had to have that, we had to have a board, we had to have Arbor Day presentations and proclamations. So there's all these requirements, and we were able to finally get it all done.
And there's-
Yeah, we go for training.
Yeah, we still go to training, especially Sal.
We send him a lot.
Yeah. There's 2 members not here. Dorsey Latza, who will be leaving the board because the Latzas are moving to Florida. And it's a tough commute for those monthly meetings. And Rose DeGagna, and she can't make it too. But we're the 5 members on the board, and we do the best we can to keep Belmar a tree city. So we finally got it. Thank you.
Next is, if the council will indulge me, I'd like to move the 2017 budget hearing next, so that our CFO, who's going to handle the presentation, field any questions, is able to get home at a somewhat reasonable hour.
She didn't bring her husband.
She was wise enough not to bring her husband. So that's all right, we'll do the budget presentation now and then do reports to council.
Super.
All right, and then, once we open this up, we'll open it up to the public as well, your presentation, then the council will ask whatever questions, then we'll come back to the dais, and then we'll take comments and questions from the public on the 2017 budget. So, if the council join on the dais, turn this over to our CFO, Robin Kirk.
I don't know which camera. Good evening, everyone. As the mayor said, I'm Rob Kirk. I'm the chief financial officer of the Borough of Belmar. Also with us tonight is the borough's auditor, Chuck Fowle. We introduced our budget about a month or so ago. It's been up online. We will give time for questions if anybody's looked at it and has any questions. What I'm going to do this evening is run through what the budget is all about this year. You'll see slides that'll show you a 5-year to 6-year history on our revenues, expenses, things like that. And then we'll open up for a public hearing if anybody has any questions. The 2017 budget this year is just over $23 million. We handle that through 4 different funds in the borough. The current fund is $15 million. That is things like our police department, our Department of Public Works, the general operations of the borough. The second part of our budget is the water and sewer utility. That is $3.4 million. We also have the beach utility, which operates the entire beachfront at $4.8 million. And then we also have a parking utility, which handles those parking kiosks down on the beachfront. That's $163,000. We're going to go through the utilities first. I'll do this pretty quickly. A lot of things have changed in our utilities. On each one of the funds I'll go over, the first slide will be the expenses, things that we pay for and how much they cost. Second slide will be the revenue, the income that covers those expenses. And then the last one will be the surplus, what I call the savings accounts of each fund. So in our water and sewer utility, the other expenses, that is things like our contracts with SMERSA, New Jersey American, things like that, is $2.3 million. The capital and debt, $642,000. We were actually able to increase those debt payments by about $200,000 this year. We started projects about $5 million a few years ago, so we are already starting to pay those off. Smallest part of that budget is actually $369,000. That's a few guys from our Department of Public Works. They go out and read your meter, they fix hydrants, some things like that. How we pay for all that is we bill the consumers. For this year, we are anticipating $2.7 million. Things like rainy springs, and nobody having to water those newly planted flowers, could affect that number. But we do kind of anticipate low, just in case we do have a rainy spring or a rainy summer, and those usages don't come in. But we have been very consistent, as you can see by that blue line, as far as what we have been billing. This budget is structured to have no rate increase this year. We are able to keep it under our current rate structure. Surplus. Each one of our funds actually has what's called a surplus. That money comes from, if we do keep that number low, the $2.7 million, and we have a high usage year, maybe we put a little extra money back into our surplus account. We actually use that in the following year to help offset costs. Last year, as you can see, the blue line, that is what we start the year out with. We started this year out with $1 million in our surplus account. That's been the highest in over 6 years. That was due to very good collections last year, meaning everybody paid their bills. We do not use it all, that is the burgundy line, to offset this budget. We like to leave some there. Again, in case we have a rainy year or anything like that, we still have some of that savings account going into the following year. The next utility would be our beach utility. Our beach utility, the largest portion of that is $2.6 million of salaries. That is to cover our lifeguards, our EMTs, our ticket sellers, our bathroom attendants, everybody that works down that beachfront, keeps it clean, things like that. Slight uptick in that this year as we did give everybody raises down there this year. Second part is the other expenses, $1.3 million. That is things like buying a new beach rake, keep the beach clean this year. Those types of expenses. Those expenses are the burgundy line, as you can see. Haven't really had a large increase in those. They've pretty much stayed stable. The last number is $886,000. That is our capital and debt. Yes, I am still working with FEMA. They are very good about paying me. I just have to ask them for the money. But we are continuing to pay the Sandy debt. I'm on the phone with them at least once a month. We hand in more bills. I have a big tub in my office. Every once in a while I scan some, send them up. No problem, Rob, and they write me a check. So as I get that money in, I continue paying that off. The revenue side of our budget in the beach utility. We do have a large surplus in our beach utility. It is planned that way. Again, very weather dependent utility. If it rains, last 2 weekends, we collect very little money. So, our beach utility has over $2 million in surplus. The way we operate the beach utility budget is, we anticipate that coming into this year. The next number is our badge sales, $2 million. It's a very low number compared to what we really take in. Again, if we were to have a rainy summer and we only hit $2 million, we're still able to operate because we have that surplus. We would send people home, we would not spend as much, we would control the spending so that we didn't need as much surplus going into the following year. Some people would say we have too much. I like it that way. I like to know we can operate an entire year without having to raise beach fees, or if we have a rainy summer. Our surplus, again, the blue line is what we started out during this year. We started out with $2.2 million. We are using 2.1 of it. We have, as you can see, that blue line, although it looks like it blips, we've been very good. We've had great summers. 2015 was the best summer I've ever seen. 2016 was also phenomenal. Not quite as good, but it was fine. These last couple weekends, I don't know if our beach reports are up online, we have been dipped a little. It's nothing to be concerned about, I would expect. We're going to drag everybody in here this weekend because it's going to be 80 degrees out, and we're going to make right back up anything that we did not make over the past couple of weekends. Parking utility. Watch how fast I do this one. Expenses. Whopping $163,000 total. $68,000 of that is for salaries. That's for our enforcement officers down, for those lovely kiosks. We've also hired somebody in-house now that's going to maintain those, so we're able to drop some service contracts. The other expense is $20,000. That is basically just for buying the paper for the machines, some things like that. We have to have Wi-Fi on them and phone lines, things like that. Capital debt, $75,000. This is the last year of the payment of those machines. We now own them. How exciting is that? They'll probably all break, but no, that's fine. They will be fine. Where do we get the money from? The money comes from the parking machines, $150,000. That is only 40% of the revenue that we take in by those machines. The revenue from those machines is split between the beach utility and the parking machines. Anything that comes into those parking machines during the day is for the beach utility. We have those off hours that we also collect on, which goes to the parking utility. We also are using a small bit of surplus of $13,000. In our parking utility, we do again have a surplus. The blue line again is what we started with at the beginning of the year, $93,000. We are only using $13,000 of that. If you go back a couple of years, you'll see that burgundy line, we used some of our surplus over the past 2 years. That surplus was used to pave all the spaces again down at the beachfront. We put the new curbing in, we did new striping. So that is what the parking utility pays for, is those kinds of improvements to parking spaces. We did the beachfront. I would say that we would also start, as we rebuild that surplus back up, use it for other areas of parking within the municipality. Okay, here's the one everybody wants to hear about. The current fund, which is paid partially by the taxpayers. Our current fund has actually remained pretty stable. This is the expense side of the budget. Other expenses, $7.4 million. That covers anything from health insurance, to regular insurance, to pension payments, to buying guns with no bullets for our police department, pens and paper in the office. We have been able to maintain that line and control expenses throughout the borough for the past 6 to 7 years, so that there's been no increases there. Our salary and wages are the burgundy line, $5.6 million. As you can see, that's also stayed very stable. We do get raises, don't lie. But we've had some retirements, we've brought some new hires in. We've actually added additional employees to do some things, technology, but we were able to maintain that line as far as what our salaries are going out. Capital and debt, $1.2 million. That is also going up about $200,000 this year. We are continuing to pay off our debt at a very nice pace, and like I said, we were actually able to increase it slightly this year. Reserve for uncollected taxes, $462,000. That's gone down by $200,000 this year. That line item is to cover for people who don't pay their taxes. We have to budget it because I have to pay the school and the county whatever is due to them. So I have to make sure my collections are going to be close to 100%. But everybody was very good about paying their taxes last year. So we have very little delinquencies going into this year, so I was able to lower that line. The library is a state mandated amount. It goes by the assessments of the town. That is $521,000, which I immediately turned over to them. It actually shows up separate on your tax bill. That line's going up by about $14,000 this year, but again, that's a mandatory amount. Deferred charges, $42,000. Haven't had one of those in a while. That is the first of 5 years worth of payments towards the reval services that we had done last year. That gets paid off over the next 5 years. How do we pay for all of that? Okay, the blue line is the amount to be raised by taxation. The mayor will speak more to this. If you see that blue line has not changed in 6 years on my slide, it's actually going back even further than that. Total amount is $7.2 million. That includes that $500,000 for the library. The borough's portion of those taxes is about $6.6 million and has not changed in quite a few years. The way we have not changed that is if you see that burgundy line. The burgundy line is what's called other local revenues. That is things like interlocal services agreements, police outside services of contracts. We have been able to increase that line, basically find other ways to bring in revenue so that we don't have to raise the blue line. Other items on there are marina slip rentals. We did take a little dip on that a couple of years ago when we were repairing the docks after Sandy, but all of those revenues have come back. State aid has not changed. We won't even discuss it. Interlocal services agreements, $310,000. Grants. Last year we had about $500,000 in grants. That was for work over at McCleary Park. We are continuing to look for other grants, but we don't have the grant, we don't have the expense, so it's kind of a wash. Construction code. We have been doing very well on our construction code. I think the mayor will speak a little bit more to that also, as far as services that we've actually done and not even charged for. But that is also another line that's actually been doing very well in our budget because of all the projects that have been going on, excuse me, in town. The surplus in our current fund. The blue line again is the line that we started out with at the beginning of the year, $1.9 million. We are only using 1.3 of that. That's all we needed to operate this budget. So we are leaving a nice little chunk there. to move forward going into next year already. The yellow line, which I'm sorry I didn't explain on other slides, that's what we put back into our surplus at the end of the following year. We did very well on that last year. 2 reasons. 1, controlling expenses between the administration, the management, working with our department heads. We give them a budget. If they don't spend it all, it goes right back to that surplus. Department heads have been very good about working under controlled expense environment. We ask if they don't need it, they don't spend it. The other item that goes in there is those revenues. So as we continue to find other ways to collect money, other things potentially we can go into agreements for, if we get that excess income in, it would go to our surplus. So we've done very good on regenerating our surplus. I want to do a quick slide on the new revenues that we have brought in over the past, I think I did 6 years. Our revenues back in, say, 2010 were about $4 million. They're up to about $6 million now. Not taxpayer dollars. Those are other dollars that we have coming in now. Whether it's through police services contract, which again, we are charging, I believe, $1.1 million. We are actually netting $600,000 off that. We do have increased expenses. We have to have a few more police officers, but they're not costing us the whole 1.1. We're actually netting $600,000 worth of increase to our revenues on that. Through this, both the controlled expenses and the surplus, or the new revenues, over the past 10 years, we have kept the tax rate the same, or we have brought it down through a compounded savings to the taxpayers of Belmar of $975,000 over the past 7 years. So,
That is her presentation. I do want to
and
just.
Colleen did the pretty purple thing
I
there.
did the
because I
purple,
couldn't
that's
draw
my
the
value
lines.
added. No, I just want to chime in for council and for members of the audience, media and whatnot. We are in year 7 of the 0 property tax increase in Belmar. That does not happen by accident. This is very difficult to do, it's very orchestrated to do, and it happens because of this woman right here. So I want to congratulate Robin on this budget. And however, begrudgingly, I might say, and I also have to thank all of our department heads, because Robin and I are really good at saying no to increased expenditures, but without their cooperation, we wouldn't be able to do this. And so Chief Heisman, Mike Campbell at DPW, April Claudio in the clerk's office, and all across the board, they've done a phenomenal job of helping us control costs, and that lets us do this. So, thank you.
A couple quick questions for you. The line you have in there, because I think it's a little misleading, if you could explain it better. State aid. Can you explain how we really don't get any state aid? That it's actually from the energy
Franchise, groceries and stuff. Going back,
So it's
see if I-
400.
let's see if I can go backwards.
No, we got it, we got it.
Oh, you did. Okay. The state aid line of $423,499. The state likes to call it state aid. It isn't really. What that is the energy and gross receipts tax. If you all look at your bills at home, whether it's your gas bill, your electric bill, your cable bill, you'll see that you pay a little tax there. That revenue, when it was originally created by the state of New Jersey, the utility companies pay it to the state. The state was then supposed to turn it back to the municipality in which you lived. They do, to a point. They froze that number. So although you may be paying more to the state on your utility bills, they do not pay any more to us. They're keeping it. So anyway, that is that number. It's money you are paying to the state. They are then just giving it back to us in what they like to call state aid, but it is actually the energy, franchise, and gross receipts tax. The consolidated municipal property tax relief aid that was also created by the state, where we all used to actually get state aid, has basically been wiped out. Some municipalities do still get it, but very little. We used to get it, but as our franchise and gross receipts went up a little bit, they dropped that number until it went off the books probably about 7 or 8 years ago. At that point is when they froze that number, and it has not changed since.
Another quick point. So one of the issues you hear about with state government is the fact that they do not fully fund their pensions. how are we on our annual pension payments?
We are making our annual pension payments. Both municipalities, and although I am one, and I'm not just touting myself, the employees have been making their pension payments. In fact, they have increased, both on the employee side and on the municipality side. So the municipalities, the local municipalities, and all of the employees in the pension system, we are making our payments, and more than we ever had. So,
The other thing I think is worth pointing out on water sewer was 2 years ago, Colleen Connolly was able to renegotiate with American Water. So when you look at it's under OE, right?
yes, right there. 2.3, that is actually
That
gone down
2.3, right, that's actually gone down the last couple of years. So that's direct savings right to the utility users, but no change in service. So it's the same quality water, same everything, but now we have a much better agreement and pay less than we were paying in the past. The other item on here, the capital and debt, that's one of the things that we had so many complaints for so many years of people having brown water. And our Department of Public Works would have to go out there with a special formula and rush out there and tell you, don't dry your clothes in the dryer yet. Let us wash it and get the rust out of your clothes. And it was frustrating because we would test the water and it was drinkable, but no one in their right mind would drink water that was brown. People would fill up their entire swimming pool and it was brown until they ran the filter, and then there was a film around. People had permanent stains in their bathtubs, in their toilets from this type of water. Because of the capital improvements, and you'll see what the capital and debt number is, those have been eliminated virtually everywhere in town. And we have a very aged infrastructure underground, so that was necessary. And if we could go back to the last slide.
The very last slide.
So to sort of echo what both Robin and Colleen said, the ability to save this much money, almost $1 million, that's real money. And I can tell you, and don't take my word for it, shop it around out there, there's no town in the state of New Jersey that has saved their taxpayers that much money over the last 7 years. There's virtually no town that today collects less in property taxes than it did in 2010. As they said, it's really for two things, and I think it's worth emphasizing how we continue to ask our borough employees to do more with less. I'll give you one simple example. So we provide dispatch services. You may not know this. We provide police, fire, and first aid, I believe, dispatch services for Spring Lake Heights. We don't add more people on to provide that service. The person sitting in that chair who picks up the phone, the difference between saying Belmar Police Department or Spring Lake Heights Police Department is pretty negligible. So they say one or the other, and if there's an accident on Route 71 in Spring Lake, they dispatch the police and it's taken care of. It saves Spring Lake Heights a significant amount of money, but it generates reoccurring revenue every year for us. And that's just one pretty easy example of asking our employees to do more without providing them more for that, but generating revenue that benefits the taxpayers here in Belmar. And again, that's one component, and the other, as Robin mentioned, is generating reoccurring revenue. One of the gimmicks that you'll see other municipalities do is they'll sell things. So maybe they have some property. If you're a big town like Wall, maybe you sell off a couple acres to a developer. You get that money one time. You use it in your budget. You plug a hole for 1 year, and it's gone. In our case, all these are reoccurring revenues. And the way we've established the agreements is every year there's an increase in it. Whether it's an increase in the rent that Marina Grill pays every year, or an increase in the police contract that we have, that increases every year, or as I mentioned before with Spring Lake Heights, that increases a little bit every year. So every year, we're gonna have more revenue generated outside of property taxes. And we did it in agreements that are solid for us providing those services. Take example, the Lake Como Police. When we took over those services last year, there were some people that had some hesitation, some concerns about public safety. It's worked out better than anyone could have expected on the service side. On the revenue side, as Robin mentioned, you can't say the word profit, but we make $600,000 a year on that. And little by little, that is going to continue to increase. And the other thing I think that's important for taxpayers, if you look at 2010, for the whole budget, the amount of the budget spent on the services that we like to have and we enjoy in Belmar, 35% of those services were paid for by property taxpayers in Belmar. Today, and we've increased services, whether it's for seniors, recreation programs, Department of Public Works doing more. For the increase in services, today, taxpayers pay 28% of the total budget. So we've been able to reduce the burden on the taxpayers as we've increased the services for that same community. And we did it going through the worst natural disaster in the history of our state that landed right on our doorstep. And because of that, we waived all permitting fees for anyone doing any repair or rebuilding to their house after Sandy. When we add that up, since November 1 of 2012, we've foregone $235,000 that otherwise would have been charged to property owners in Belmar for recovery from Sandy. And we're still able to do this while foregoing that revenue. So when you look at the current financial health of Belmar, it's quite literally healthier than it's ever been. When you look forward, it's in a better position moving forward as well. And when you compare it, don't take my word for it, compare it to any other town out there, when it comes to the services provided versus the cost of taxpayers, out of the 565 municipalities in New Jersey, you will not find anyone better than Belmar. I said, and that was perfect timing. So with that, let me bring the council back up, have them ask any questions of Robin, and then we'll open it up to everyone, and we'll finally let Robin go enjoy a happy hour somewhere. So who wants to start off with questions? Mark?
Robin, I just got one.
Sure.
On our debt service, we just making, in this budget, we just making the mandatory payments, or are we paying?
Probably about 200,000 over our mandatory.
About 200,000?
Yeah, over our, in the current fund. The water and sewer utility, I have increased it to be what I would anticipate our 20-year bond payoff will be on that $5 million. On the beach utility, I got plenty of time left on the Sandy debt, but as that money's coming in, I am paying it. So, on the beach utility. So, but the current fund up by about 200,000 over our mandatory.
Right, so, and that didn't really show up there, but it's a great question. So we're increasing our debt service in this budget.
In green fund, yes. Over last year.
Right.
I'm good. I'm impressed. Good job.
Brian and Mark want to know if they're going to get their pension check.
We're making our payments, as I said. I hope that next year I get my pension payment too.
What? You're not allowed to leave.
All right, I'm curious, the question that Mark just asked. I know that like when I repay on my mortgage, I end up reducing the overall cost because I'm it'll reduce the amount. Does this work the same way, prepay?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't have permanent financing out on,
Okay.
the marina we do. You
All right.
cannot prepay on government issued bonds.
No.
You can't just make prepayments. But, I mean, yes, if we pay more now,
You'll
unless I
save-
have to borrow again next year with interest. One thing I will be looking at, I'll report this to you as we get, further into the year, is actually looking at permanent financing, where we would have that fixed payment. Interest rates took a little bit of a jump in the beginning of the year, hopefully things will calm back down. I don't expect them to be what they were 2 years ago, but before they go too crazy over the next several years, we are gonna look at permanent financing, at minimum the water, $5 million.
Okay.
So that we know we've got a decent fixed interest rate for right now and doing it on a yearly basis. So,
And just to give you an idea on interest rates, even if they tick up when the Fed funds rate goes up,
It's
it's
still
still,
It's still up.
you're able to sell them at a premium, which means people actually pay for the debt. So, I mean, when you, in an aggregate, the yield is probably somewhere around 3,
3 to 3.25, I would think, right now. So,
which is, if you think about it relative to, a 30-year mortgage or even a 5-year ARM, it's really significant.
it's very inexpensive money.
The only other question I wanted to ask, and I mean, it's just only related, it's not, but I'm sure people here are wondering, like, how does the recent reassessment, how does that tie in with what's gonna happen here with our budget?
Great question. So, the only thing we control is the total amount of money that we collect. We do not decide who pays how much. That's decided on by the county. So, if you're looking at this and say, all right, well, taxes are going up, haven't gone up in 7 years, saving all this money, but my taxes just went up $2,000 because of this revamp. That's true. That's not us. If your taxes went down $2,000, God bless you, don't give us the credit, we don't get the blame or the credit. For us, it's just the total number that we're able to, that we're responsible for. Whether someone on 10th Avenue pays more or less than someone on 16th or someone on 5th, that's totally up to the county. Which again, we fought the county assessment program. I said if anyone felt it was unfair, they should absolutely appeal, and we'll do everything we can. Robin held for several months, folks who were in the process. But yeah, so all we are able to control and have responsibility for it is the total.
No, great job, it's, great new, and, looks like it's even better than last year, so looking forward to next year already. You don't have to get busy on that, but thank you, Robin, how hard you
I
work.
just got one word, we know what the tax rate's gonna be yet?
I'm sorry?
Do we know what the tax rate is gonna be?
I don't have the county number yet.
Oh,
And I know we did just have a few appeals. The original number we were giving out was that 1.185.
Yeah.
The school has gone up, so that will adjust slightly for them. And I don't have the county number yet. I understand the county was supposed to stay the same or flat. But I would expect to have that out in the next week or two.
No.
So we can post it on the website as soon as it's done.
Okay, then the tax bills go out.
I'm sorry?
Then the tax bills go out.
And then the tax bills go out. So you should be mid-July. One of the other things for my friend Pat Correa, sitting over there. We are working on currently the water bills. Hopefully they'll be out on time within the next week and a half. The next thing we are going to jump into is the online payments.
Oh, really?
So hopefully we'll be getting that rolling out with the tax bills. Since you go online, pay your tax bill. Unfortunately, you gotta pay because you want to use a credit card. But hopefully we'll roll that out with the tax bills.
Well, let me, if you don't mind, let me open, unless the council has any other questions, we can open it up to the public. All right, any questions, comments, or public, just raise your hand, we can call on, come up to the microphone, say name and address for the record, and whatever comments, questions you have. This is just on the budget itself. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the 2017 budget. Is the resolution on for
So you make a
adoption?
motion to,
But that's not until the consent agenda.
no, you can do it now, it's right here, you can do it now.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the 2017 municipal budget.
Second?
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes.
Councilman Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Thank you, Robin.
Good job.
And
Thank
are we able to put the presentation
Yes.
that she just did?
We'll PDF it and have it on our.
All right, because I know we have the budget up, and that can be somewhat confusing for people.
There's also what's called a user-friendly budget that's now up there. Kind of combines everything into about 10 sheets. So if people want to look at that, it's also in the document.
Can you take over the state budget? Nice seeing everybody.
Thank you, Rob.
See you next year. Okay.
Sorry, Robin.
Oh, Rob.
Next are petitions. So we're gonna go back to the normal order. Council. So next are petitions. Any petitions for the mayor and council? Let's see. Next would be approval of the minutes before we approve them. So I make sure people who were or not here on the May 11th meeting, for instance, I was not, so I'll abstain on that.
Correct.
That was a real short one, that was like the 10-minute.
Oh, yeah. That was the really short one. Mark, you were there.
I was not.
Brian was not, so you're gonna recuse yourself. And Matt and Brian can recuse themselves from May 11th,
Correct.
please.
So then Brian has to. All right, so let's do May 4th.
Let's do May 4th.
Okay. I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 4th, 2017 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes.
Councilman Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
All right, so if you can give that to Councilman Walsifer to read, just substitute May 4th for him, and we'll abstain.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 11th, 2017 be approved as recorded and a copy thereof be posted on the borough website.
Second?
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Abstain?
Councilman Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Abstain.
All right. Next are reports of the council. Council President McGovern, please start.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a thank you letter that was sent to Chief Heisman from a couple that was rescued on Memorial Day weekend. Is John Wishart in the room? No? Okay. If he was, I'd call him up so you could see who this letter is all about. Here's a letter of thank you to the chief. Dear sir, my family flew into New Jersey from Calgary for my cousin's wedding. We visited Belmar Beach on Wednesday, May 31st. My husband and I got caught in a rip current and couldn't get back to shore. We would have drowned if it wasn't for an off-duty lifeguard and your team of the Belmar Police Department. We want to thank you and your team from the bottom of our hearts for saving our lives. Thank you for taking such good care of my family members, offering to hold our 18-month daughter, calming my mom down, and driving my sister to the hospital. We all made it safely back home to Calgary, and we're doing well. We would like to personally thank the off-duty lifeguard of John Wishart that pulled my husband and I out of the water. Will you please send us his contact? Sincerely, Sarah Johnson. So when lifeguards make a rescue, they fill out a report, and we got that from John, and I'm going to read to you what he wrote to the lifeguard, Chief Lifeguard Ray Elms. At about 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 31st, I, John Wishart, came to the beach with my friend Raymond Jansak to help him practice and prepare for the rookie test. We were on the 11th Avenue beach. We just completed a run-swim-run with another lifeguard friend, Joseph DeFeo, a Class 1 officer in Belmar, who was walking the beach, and we started talking. As the conversation came to an end, he started walking away. He turned around and asked me, "Hey, Wish, We just received a swimmer in distress call on 16th Avenue. Do you want to come with me? We, Joseph, his partner, Raymond, and I, immediately began running down the beach. The fog was thick, so I could not see much, but I could hear screaming coming from the direction I was running to. Once we arrived on 15th Avenue, I saw 3 people in the water, right next to the jetty in a huge rip, and a mother on the beach. I thought it was saying a mother rip. Sometimes we call them rips like that. On the beach, screaming while holding a younger child. I told Joe to radio for first aid and immediately dove into the water, which is about 60 degrees. Once I got to the 3 victims, I realized one man was trying desperately to keep the other 2 victims' heads above the water. I was able to bring the male victim to shore where the other officers and helpers were able to pull him onto the sand. I went back in the water to get the female victim who was still struggling with the unknown man. As I was pulling her in, I believe she went unconscious. At this point, there was as many other people on the beach, police and first aid. Once I got her to the wash, they all helped me carry her onto the stand, and they put her on her side and hooked up an oxygen mask to her. Once they stabilized both the victims, they were taken off on stretchers and brought to the hospital. So that's a good job done, don't you think? So I wish John was here. Yeah, so it's, I'll tell you, he probably drank for free the rest of the weekend when he's bragging about his rescue to all his lifeguard buddies who are jealous that they weren't there with him. But that was a good job done.
Brian, if I could interject, he references a third person trying to keep the 2 victims' heads above water. That actually was a surfer who assisted in the rescue.
Oh, really? Okay. And that's one advantage of having surfers all year long. I mean, those surfers make so many rescues just by being there, and they, the surfboard acts as a buoy. So when you see a surfer out there, it's a little bit better for you in case you get caught in a rip, because they're usually good swimmers. So it's just a good thing. Yeah. Now for a report. I just have one report from the Historical Society. We met last month, and the big discussion from the president, Spencer Hewlett, is that last year there was vandalism on our statue at Doughboy Park. Someone, probably at night, climbed up there and they broke off the bayonet on the statue's rifle. And in shaking so, they must have really knocked the statue itself pretty much off balance on its support. And the Historical Society is looking around trying to get prices to getting it repaired. They found one company in Connecticut, but the cost of repairing the damage to the statue and resetting it is close to $17,000. So the Historical Society is going to start pushing a little fundraiser to collect the funds to help restore that Doughboy Park statue over here. So when you go out to the lobby before you leave tonight, over on the display case is an order form where you can make donations, and you can buy. They're looking to engrave engraved brick. If you go to the statue, all around it are bricks with different names on it. That you can recognize a family member or some other cause, and that money goes to the Historical Society. And this is going to be a real good cause. They don't have $17,000 right now, so they're looking for the residents of Belmar to come through to repair that vandalism that was done to that statue.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Walsberg?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Brennan and myself attended the Harbor Commission meeting, and we're just continuing with the website. Ed's helping us out and trying to get the website all straightened out. So that's been most of the discussion at the Harbor Commission. I also attended the Belmar Business Partnership meeting that they had.
Part of it.
Yeah, and one of the problems that they've been having with their awning program, that they're trying to issue some grants for awnings, and it's been a little difficult for them to get that done with our current ordinance, because if it's a canopy, it has to go to the planning board, and a lot of these places that where there's landlords that rent to the businesses, the landlord actually has to go to the planning board. It costs a lot of money, and so maybe at some point, I know we have a lot on our agenda tonight, but we can take a look at that ordinance, maybe lighten it up a little bit so that we can put in some parameters if these awnings want to go up. I mean, they would still have to meet all the criteria, the building department and everything like that, but maybe they wouldn't have to go to the planning board or zoning board to get approval, because normally you have to hire an attorney, you have to have the architect, you have to have all the plans, and some of the landlords just don't want to go through with that. So if we make it a little bit easier, and that's the way we want to go, so maybe we can take a look at that ordinance in the near future.
So April, if someone wants to do an awning, they just come in, give the drawings to Ted.
Right, if they already have an awning and they just want to replace the fabric over it with a new business or new color, they can just do that. If they don't have an awning and want to install it, then they need construction permits for the bracket.
But they don't need to go before the planning board.
No. It's
I
only-
think the big issue is the canopy.
Yeah,
If
the
they have
doesn't-
two legs that come down, and usually the criteria for that is like it's a meeting establishment, or, we would have to set the criteria.
So something like jacks, right? Something
I mean, the big
like-
issue that came up was with
Randall,
Metropolis. He wanted to put up a canopy type awning, and it's been going like 6 months back and forth, and we've been trying to get this awning. Now that he's changed all the plans around, and he has to go back to an architect to try to get like just a rollout awning, because he didn't want to have the expense of going to the planning board. But I mean, we have so many of them that are along Main Street now that maybe we can set the criteria, even though they meet all the construction plans, they meet all the application fees and we set the parameters for where a canopy could be put in place to save, because we have a lot of landlords out there, and businesses want to do them, but the landlords don't want to get involved doing it, and you don't have the landlord or the property owner doing it. So, just maybe something that we can take a look at in the future.
No, I think that's a great idea, and I think we could do it sort of like we have the awnings now. Have Ted be the one who decides if it gets approved. Right now, we can't approve it. So if we put criteria together, Ted would either approve it, or if not, then they would have to go before the planning board, which is fair. But if we put a certain criteria in, and we already have, like you said, we already have ones in town that we could model it after, that we know are successful. Again, I'm just using Jack's as an example.
Yeah, you have to have so much, area, sidewalk,
Right.
and, we set all those parameters up on what kind of establishment, so that this way, somebody like Acropolis doesn't have to spend all that money, it's just, you want to end up over his tables.
As long as they meet the code, then it's approved.
Yeah, so maybe at some point we can take a look at that ordinance, maybe just to make some changes, to the canopy section of it, or take a look at it.
And it's something that, this is the money from the BBP, it's one of the things that they want to give this money away, and they don't want it to be difficult, and the BBP themselves have criteria that they have to meet, certainly for safety and aesthetics, but it's been frustrating with Acropolis because we want to help them out, so this would be really nice if we could help on that side.
And even Monmouth County has a lot of money, they're trying to give out for awning signage and all that other stuff, so maybe in the future we can take a look at it.
All right, Greg, would you will, not now, but pull up those ordinances regarding, talk with April about it.
Canopies are actually prohibited, which I assume I have to do the planning board.
What's that?
Canopies are currently prohibited,
Right,
so
so,
you have to get variance from the planning board.
right, so
I think that's what they're
what
requiring.
we would look at is
There's
changing
actually a
that.
reserved section F of the canopy awnings ordinance, where the canopy section presumably used to be.
Right, so what we could do is you could say that they're prohibited except for, right?
Yeah, we set the
And it's sort of
parameters,
the
they have to be
criteria.
attached to the building,
Certain
it
height.
can't be-
Simple ones.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at drafting something and circulate it and, possibly put it out for July. So I mean, I don't even want to tell Andy and Olga yet, but maybe we tell the owners of Acropolis to just hold off for a little while and let us try to address it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to consult with the construction official.
Right.
There's clearly a reason why it's deleted from the ordinance, so let them know the history of that and understand what the parameters are, what unique issues perhaps Belmar had.
I think the big issue was because the canopy has the two legs that come down on the sidewalks. That's not a.
Yeah, it's clearly, I mean, it's delineated. So just so everyone knows, an awning is regulated by the section, any cloth, fabric, flat structure, attached to a building or projecting over a sidewalk or other public thoroughfare. A canopy is essentially the same thing, except it extends over the sidewalk or public thoroughfare and is carried by a frame supported by the ground. So the difference between a canopy and awning for legal purposes in this town is whether or not it touches the ground, whether it's just attached to the ground.
And there's been a lot of them that are approved already, so I mean, you could basically adjust it to the ones that have already been approved.
And just make it easier for me.
Yeah, it's already reserved in your ordinance, so I can take a look at that, take a look at some other towns that had similar issues with tourism stuff in the area.
Right, and like you said, try to find out your background as to why.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not running afoul of something, there's some particular items in the town that I'm not aware of.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Thanks. Councilman Bryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Environmental Commission, in their effort to reduce the amount of plastic pollution going into our environment, sponsored their logo contest. We're going to use the winning logo on some recycled bags we're going to hand out to the public to encourage them to use those bags again, rather than single-use plastic bags. They had their contest. And I got to tell you, the results exceeded my expectations. I would have been happy with a couple of dozen entries. We had over 100 students, fourth grade through high school, submit entries. Somehow the entry form, I think what happened was there was an art event for a youth art show over at the Belmar Arts Center, and I spoke to the woman who was the director of that. She's an art teacher down at Point Pleasant High School. She handed out the forms to the students that were participating in the show, and those students were all from all over the state. Somehow the form got in the hands of some tech teachers in the Middlesex County Vocational Technical School District. We had multiple entries from Bertha Amboy Technical High School, multiple entries from Piscataway High School, Technical High School. We had over 60 entries from St. Rose Grammar School. We had about 15 entries from Belmar Elementary School. Those entries were actually pre-juried by Mary Dakotas, who's the art teacher there. A lot more kids did work, but she just juried them out and gave us the ones she thought might have a chance of winning. It was amazing, and the work was really, really entertaining is the word that comes to my mind. Some of it was like really, really cute. The younger ones in particular, really cute stuff. We picked 10 entries for honorable mention. The first runner-up was a middle school student named Bella DeGoya, who goes to Howell South Middle School. And the winning entry was Delia Noon, who's a junior at Communications High School. She lives in Middletown. We had a reception for all the entries last Thursday. Yes, the winning entry is, if you've been looking, if you do Facebook and you follow the Belmar Eco Watch Facebook page, we posted the winning entry. We're actually I still have all the entries. So I think I'm gonna, because I have access to this Facebook page, I'm gonna keep posting the pictures because they're adorable, especially the younger ones are adorable. And the ones from the Tech High School kids are really quite good. And a lot of those kids submitted multiple entries. You could see that they were looking for a very professional kind of submission. Their teacher was definitely showing them this is how you deal with clients. It was really amazing to watch the different ways that the different approaches to entering our art into the contest. We had a reception. Oh yes, the winner, the plastic bag, really quite ingenious. The girl came up with the image of a plastic bag kind of floating in the water, and she used that for the body of the turtle, and then she drew the four flippers in the head. Very impressionistic looking. She used a piece of software called Illustrator. It's a drawing program. She met all the guidelines. It was 2 colors plus black, and it said right on it, "I'm the solution to plastic pollution." That was part of the guidelines. Really, really well done. At the reception, we handed out some certificates of awesome that were made by Mary Brennan, who was a member of the Environmental Commission, and we also showed a PowerPoint presentation, which I'd like some future date to come in and share at the meeting here, public with the council and the mayor. Really interesting and eye-opening facts about the number of bags that are used per year by the average American family, how long a bag gets used for, what's the life expectancy of a bag, what happens to the bag. Really quite educational. I'm really hoping that the experience has helped out the students to make them more aware about plastic pollution in our environment. And I can't wait to start giving out. We're shopping right now. We're looking for something that's affordable that we can do. And we want to give them away, but we don't want to give away the farm. And I want to especially want to thank Borough Administrator for all her work with the contest. She helped judge the winner. It was actually basically her suggestion that we try to do this, and all her help with the reception. I'm still eating these cookies. Okay, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nicolay.
Yeah, I just want to add to that the youth art show at the Belmar Arts Council was incredible. Just a great group of kids, all ages up through high school, and just, they're so talented. I was one of the judges, and it was quite difficult to choose the winners. But they exceeded the number of pieces that we expected, and people who attended the show really enjoyed it. So when it comes around next year, please try to get to it. You'll start with Belmar Elementary School. The 8th grade graduation is Thursday, June 15th. Last day of school is June 16th. St. Rose Grammar School, same thing. 8th grade graduation is June 15th. Their last day of school is June 22nd. So sorry for that. Their summer office hours, this is the St. Rose Grammar School, will start June 26th, and it's going to be 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. The BBP, with the help of, great help of DPW, they have placed large flower pots on the corners of Main Street with beautiful flowers that are going to continue to grow and fill in the flower pots, just to help with the aesthetics and the look of Main Street. And they look really great, so if you're going up and down, you can't miss them. So thank you again to the DPW. Also the BBP, we have a great Belmar video that was created last year, and it has reached over 810,000 people through social media, and on TV, it's reached over 500,000 people. It really is great, touching on our restaurants, the beach, the marina, Main Street restaurants, our vendors, and different businesses. So if you get a chance, please take a look at that. And I attended the Belmar Women's Club Flower Luncheon today, and they did a great job. I want to just thank them for another great event. Brian had mentioned the bricks over at Doughboy. I was new to the town, and the bricks were out there. My husband and I bought a brick that says the Nicolay family many years ago. I can't remember now. Still there, looks beautiful, and it's quite an honor to be able to be part of that. So I highly suggest you considering making a donation towards that, and it's a great cause. And lastly, the Belmar Arts Council is doing a show right now called The Enchanted Garden, and please try to get to it. It's June 7th through July 7th. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not gonna have any report. Let's give it a lot of time on the budget, so, no report for me. Next is public session on the resolution calendar only. Again, you look at the agenda, this has the 2017 budget hearing on it, so just take that off. So this is a public portion of the resolution calendar. Anyone has any comments, questions, just the resolution calendar, raise your hand with, be called on, and come up and introduce? Yes.
Hi, good evening. This is a follow-up to
So
my...
sorry, just name and address.
I'm sorry. Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. This is a follow-up to my presentation and my questions, my inquiries last session regarding the noise at Anchor Tavern. Just to reiterate for those who weren't here last session, or May 11th session, I believe. No, May 4th was when I was here. Since they opened last year, I have over 30 noise complaints on record because of the noise. Most of it is after 10 p.m. I have several of them where I've had the police officers come to my apartment. Sometimes I just don't want them to come because I'm just trying to get some sleep. I just want them to shut the noise down outside. It's mostly outside. Some of it comes from inside with the noise being just so loud that the reverb and everything, you know, across the street, the pounding, the bass, whatever. So following last meeting, you had mentioned that you were going to reach out to the chief and have him get in touch with me. Did any of you do that?
We were going to reach out
To the chief, because he handles some of the noise issue with the town businesses.
I mean, I spoke with the chief about it, and we looked at other noise complaints. It seems as though you're the only person that complains about it.
Okay. How many
To be
are?
honest.
How many are? I understand.
So I get that, but it, at this point, does not rise to the level of something we're going to address significantly.
Okay, so I also tried to get a meeting with him, 4 attempts, never called me back once. So I made my efforts as well to try to sit down with him and talk to him about the issues, and he didn't call me back. So.
Well, I think he has a pretty good, clear understanding. I think you were very well-spoken last time of what the issue is.
Mhm.
Speaking with him, and you said you filed 30 noise complaints, or made 30 calls on complaints. But I can tell you that you don't see a need to change the way that Anchor Tavern is operating.
Okay, so here's my request. Based on regulation of noise, ordinance 16-3, okay, there's a reason for, you have this on record, 16-3.2 on the definition of noise and regulation, and what is defined as the unnecessary noises, loud noises between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Okay? Regarding, in such a manner to be plain, full, audible across real property boundaries, which are partitions, which doesn't apply, between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. And that is mostly my issue. Now, my request is, they have number 7 in the resolution that's being, going through approval tonight, is that the 11 o'clock be changed to 10 o'clock for outside music. That is most of my problem, is the outside music. Now, the roof they have there, that is what's creating part of this problem. They put that roof on. That wasn't there before. So if we can shut the music off at 10 o'clock, that would really help with a lot of the noise, because then people hang out, and then the music, they talk about the music, and they're there. Now, it hasn't been that bad in the past couple weeks because it's been freezing outside, so nobody's really been out there. So I anticipate with the weather changing and the weather getting warmer and the nights getting longer and the warmth staying longer and later, that there's going to be more people out there at night. So that is my single request on this. It's just to move that up an hour to 10 o'clock to match the noise ordinance that's on record.
Any other comments, questions on the resolution calendar? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the resolution calendar. I'll turn this part of the resolution calendar over to Councilman.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a resolution authorizing payment of bills. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes. Next, we have a resolution awarding a contract for Lake Como stormwater outfall improvements. Do I have a motion to approve?
Why don't we have you make the motion, if you don't mind, Brian? So when you say it,
Okay.
you'll be
Right.
making the motion and then someone can second.
Right. I make a motion to approve resolutions awarding contract for Lake Como stormwater outfall improvements.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution pursuant to NJAC 5:30-14.4, a change order number 1 for the 2016 sidewalk program.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Colleen, maybe you can just explain it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. This is a change order on the sidewalk assessment program that we authorized and commenced earlier this year. It was immensely popular. The number of homeowners volunteering to go into the program far exceeded our expectations. We have done the statutorily permissible 20% change order on that contract. We can't go higher. This change order allows us to do as many homes as possible on the first contract, and then we're going to go out to bid for the balance thereof. We've done a last call for homes to get onto the list. We'll be going back out to bid for the remainder.
Do you know how many homes?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I can get that for you.
Thank you. Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing GSA contract purchase of a barber surf rake.
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next,
Oh, I have to recuse myself.
Yes, we're about to enter into the liquor license portions.
liquor licenses?
Yes, so the balance, I think the balance of this on
There's
page
one at
one
the end, there's one
is
at the
liquor
end.
licenses, so.
All right. I make a motion to approve resolution authorizing issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 1306-32-015-007 to Fusal LLC, trading as La Dolce Vita for the period ending June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a seasonal retail consumption license number 1306-34-011-008 to SLBD Associates LLC, which is to be held in Pocket, period ending June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was a tie.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a plenary retail distribution license for DAI Seng Corporation, trading as Little Red Barn for the period ending June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 1306-33-008-009 to Klein's Fish Market Incorporated for the period ending June 30th, 2018.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a seasonal plenary retail consumption alcoholic beverage license for CSL Belmar LLC for a period ending June 30th, 2018, and it's to be held in Pocket.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a plenary retail consumption license number 1306 -33-001-010 for Chefs International Incorporated for the period ending June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
I just got one question for Greg on this one here. On the noise ordinance, could it be lowered to 10, or is that a planning board issue?
You mean the special condition on the license?
Yeah, in other words, if we decided, or can we vote on it tonight and decide at another time to take a look at that?
In terms of imposing.
Just for the outside part of it.
I think you'd have to reconsider that special, you'd have to reconsider that.
All right,
Because it's a special condition, it's not a planning board issue, it's a special condition for.
yeah, so it's not something that we look at tonight, we'll vote this through, and we'll look at it another time.
No, I mean, once you put this through, it's good for the year. You can table this and wait on it until next meeting if you want to discuss it further, that's council's pleasure. But in terms of, it's really all or nothing now until June 30th, 2019. Pardon me, 2018 for the next year and the next year.
Again, I don't know how the rest of the council feels on that, but it probably be a good thing, maybe not this time to look at it, maybe for next year to take a look at that, and stop the music. I mean, our noise ordinance is for 10 o'clock.
And if we could at least bring it to their attention when it's been brought up, the meeting?
It has been,
Oh, that's been, okay.
yes.
All right, yes.
Councilman Weber?
Same as Mark. You know, I've been there through a couple times, and I find that at 10 o'clock, there's maybe nobody out there, but they still have the music going, or the television's still on. You know, if there's nobody out there eating, there's no need for the television or the sound, so they could probably take that into, you know, an easy fix for the woman that came up here about the noise. So we should bring that to their attention, but my answer is yes. And next, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a seasonal retail consumption license to DJs LLC, trading as DJs for the period ending June 30th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
Yes.
Councilman Weber?
Yes. And I think now Tom's back up.
This last one is Councilman Brennan can come up and Councilman McGovern go down. And Councilwoman Nicolay, if you wouldn't mind introducing that resolution.
I make a motion for resolution authorizing contract purchase of playground surface materials.
Second. There you go. Good time.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
Yes.
And now everybody back up.
Yeah.
Next is our consent agenda. I will offer the consent.
Second?
If I could offer one note, quick correction on the advertisement for bids to lease a portion of the Second Avenue Boardwalk for Zumba classes. I think there was a clerical error in the ending date of that lease. The annual ending is not September 30th, it's September 7th. So I just wanted to make that clerical adjustment.
Just one other thing, it is at the Taylor Pavilion, we can see on
It's Second Avenue bump out, actually, that's the.
it's second, it's going back to Second Avenue, so it's not in Taylor Pavilion.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Osborne?
Yes.
Councilman Weber?
Yes.
Next are ordinances. First ordinance 2017-0-10, ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending revised general ordinances, chapter 40, development regulations to add section 40-7.33, artificial turf. So this is the ordinance that deals with regulating artificial turf. This is now a public hearing for it. Any comments, questions on this, please raise your hand. Wait, hold on. Come to the microphone, say your name and address to the record. Yes, sir.
Sure. Rick Dace, 413 13th Avenue.
I'd just like to give you my feelings about the proposed changes, the ones that were passed in the last meeting. I'd like to thank the council for including the existing installations and grandfathering us. The changes that I agree with is the restriction of the type of turf that's going in should be controlled. It should be, carte blanche, that you can put out indoor, outdoor carpeting and so forth. It has to be a quality product. I agree with that. What I don't understand is the banning of artificial turf. It's not going to affect me. This is supposedly for future installations. Anybody that wants to install artificial turf, they can't put it on the front lawn. They can't put it on the sidewalk if it's visible from public access, and it can't be in the easement area because that's front as well. But it can be in the backyard. So in essence, we're hiding turf. I don't understand that. It's not environmentally adverse to the environment. It doesn't add any pollution, and it looks okay. I think it looks good. I'm not a proponent of widespread. I'm not going to go out there and wave flags. Let's get some more artificial turf in town because I don't care. I like a nice looking yard, whether it's natural, artificial turf happens to be a nice looking yard. Another thing I don't understand is the border. You have to have a minimum of 1 foot border between the artificial turf and an impervious surface. It can be grass, it can be flowers, it can be bushes, according to the proposal. I don't understand it. I don't understand the reasoning. If that's the case, then the area in front of along the sidewalk, the main sidewalk that the normal pedestrians will be using to go by our house, we would have to put a 1 foot border between the grass, the turf, and the sidewalk. Not many other yards have that. If you have natural grass, it goes right up to the sidewalk. The artificial turf has been proven to be permeable. It is not impervious. So what's the purpose of the 1 foot border? There's an ordinance about changing the ordinance about maintenance. Maintaining artificial turf has to be cleaned. Appearances has to be attended to, and weeds have to be picked from the artificial turf. Where in the ordinance does it say that weeds have to be pulled out of stones, weeds have to be pulled out of regular lawns? In fact, probably most of the lawns in town are predominantly weeds and very little grass. I just don't understand why we're being targeted. Artificial turf, people are being targeted. So, the first vote, I wasn't here for the last meeting, and I understand it was 2 to 3, 3 to 2 in favor of the changes. I'd like to applaud Councilman Brennan, Councilman Walsifer, for their no vote, and because it was based on a lot of research, which there was very little research done in the first couple of meetings on this subject. Councilman Brennan, Councilman Walsifer, I believe they were talking about the residents and property owners of Belmar, not just some likes or dislikes of the way artificial turf looks. I think that the proposal should be reworked, thought out better, and make some sense of whatever restrictions you're putting in there. Again, like the 1-foot border near impervious surfaces. That's it. Thank you.
Also, I know you sent us an email,
I did.
which is much more content than what you just
Yes.
read. If you want, we can also include that in the record in today's meeting.
Okay, I would like that.
I'll make sure to send it to you. I mean, I would tell you, from my perspective, I think that if you have artificial turf in the backyard, you know, I think there's some functionality to it, particularly if you have a pool, so that kind of makes sense. In the front, I don't really see any functionality to having it in place of grass. And, you know, I know you're not gonna go around waving your arms saying, hey, everyone should put artificial turf in, but I think myself, I would, you know, if I lived on any street in Belmar and I maintain my lawn and there are 30 lawns each side of me that all have artificial turf, and you know, I come home and I see plastic lawns, you know, I don't think that's the right aesthetics for the community, to be very honest with you. I will tell you that you can always get a variance, and the future councils could change things. I think that you're in a little different position than some of the other property owners because you live here year-round. You're a full-time resident. I would imagine that if you went before the zoning board, you'd probably be in decent shape. For someone who has it as a second home, but doesn't have artificial turf at their primary home somewhere else, because artificial turf isn't good enough there, but it's good enough here, you know, maybe they have more of a challenge in front of the zoning board, if that makes any sense. Because, you know, one of the things that was frustrating to me was hearing these folks who live in other communities who would never put artificial turf at their primary home, but they do it here because it's lower maintenance, it's less easy for them, they don't want to have to maintain something, whereas the rest of us do. So, as far as the border, I think that's what we came up with based on some other ordinances that are out there, not really around here, but more out west. And the maintenance, you know, and I understand the comparison, trying to make comparison to other properties. Most properties aren't full of weeds. You're gonna find some that aren't. Most properties aren't full of rocks. You're gonna find some that aren't. And particularly with all the rain we've had, people's lawns look pretty good. But if weeds start growing through the artificial turf as a drip or something like that, there's no other growth with it. So if you do have some weeds and it's mixing with grass, aesthetically, if you're walking down the street or you're driving out to your home, you don't notice it. If all of a sudden you see these weeds sprouting out of grass that doesn't grow more than 1.5 inches, it's much more obvious and is an eyesore for the community. So that's why. In your case, like you mentioned, I don't think you have anything for you and your wife to worry about.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, Tom?
Tom Volker, 527 8th Avenue. I would agree with the previous person at the microphone, and hope you would reconsider this ordinance. For all the reasons he said, I was walking down 9th Avenue and the block before the ocean. It's a property on the south side. It looks terrific, and it's artificial turf. So I would appreciate it if you would reconsider it. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions on this ordinance?
Hi, Janine Lonsky, 98 13th Avenue. Suggestion to save some more money on the budget, make the air warmer. I'm absolutely freezing. Okay, I'm one of those second homeowners that I guess would have a hard time getting approved because I'm not a full-time resident. So that surprises me actually that I would get a hard time being approved because I am a second homeowner. The primary reason why I chose the artificial turf down here is 2 reasons. I'm not here all the time to maintain it, so I would end up with a possibly dead lawn and unmaintained. And the other reason is that my lot down here is very, very small, as are a lot of homes around here. Some aren't, but mine was. So the product is very, very expensive. But I justified that by the fact that, it would look good when I wasn't here, when I couldn't water it. And indeed, my lawn has been in 8 years. I'm at 98 13th Avenue. And just this past weekend, continually, people get out of the car, parking to go to the beach. They get out of the car and they say to me, wow, your lawn's fantastic. Is that real? Is that people get down and feel it? It's kind of comical to watch it. But I basically wanted to speak about the fact that originally the ordeal began when in February, turf owners got letters, threatening letters from the town because we were informed that we were in violation of two ordinances, two rules. One was ordinance 27.2.3, which said that the right-of-way must be turf. And the other reference in the letter was that chapter 40 of Belmar said we exceeded the max impervious coverage. And we had 30 days to remove the product or be fined. So having been there 8 years and gone through all the approval process and actually asking if I could use the artificial turf at the code enforcement officer at the time, it was very shocking to me to get that letter out of nowhere. There wasn't any questions, there wasn't a phone call, there wasn't a letter, call us. It was just this letter that we had to remove the product. So those two items that was the basis that started all this were proven to be false. Because myself and other residents gave information that turf was defined to be either natural or artificial, so that was incorrect. And the artificial turf is 20 times more pervious than sod. And I emailed you all data from Rutgers University, from the Turf Council, other people did, that it is in fact 20 times more pervious. So that argument went by the wayside. I'm curious to know why the town did not address other properties in town that clearly violate those ordinances. You have properties throughout town that do not have their right-of-way turfed. They have other materials. They have stone, they have sand, they have other things. So we were targeted, turf people were targeted. So then after that, we came to the council meeting with that information, and we were not in violation of the original letter. And then we were next told that we were robbing the environment of oxygen, depriving the wildlife of food, and depriving the subterranean wildlife of oxygen. Subsequently, that was proven to be false. And I even provided data to all of you that you can put on the record from a climate change scientist who works for the federal government that says that lawns are one of the worst things you can plant from an environmental standpoint because of the gas-powered maintenance equipment we have to use to maintain them. A lawnmower running for an hour is equivalent to a vehicle on the highway going 100 miles, going for 1 hour, 100 miles. We don't use water, we save on pesticides, etc. We provided all that data. We haven't been informed as residents that we never got a follow-up to that letter that said that, we're no longer in violation. I didn't get any correspondence from the town. So now we've altered the ordinance to say that now it's allowed, but it's not allowed to be seen from the street. And I don't know how you're going to legislate that. What is it? Is it behind a bush? Is it behind a 4-foot fence? Is it behind a 6-foot fence? It seems arbitrary to me. We can't have a 3% slope on the turf. Why? We've proved that it's 20 times more pervious than sod. So if your concern is runoff, I don't understand that. Buffering, a 1-foot buffer of plantings. If you want to put in your backyard and you want to put a pool or a basketball court that you were going to artificial turf up to, we have to have a 1-foot natural buffer that has either bushes or flowers or vines. So now we have to water and take care of that, and we have an obstruction between our path from our grass to our, that it's not required of the natural grass owners. Likewise, with the maintenance and weeds, you're putting restrictions on just the turf owners for this maintenance, but not other people with their property. I can't see, you're not gonna be able to see if I was to have my lawn out of view. You've got requirements in here that I have to hand rake it. What is that based on? I don't understand that. Why do I have to hand rake it, but the guy with the grass next to me doesn't have to? I have to repair a depression in my lawn, which I probably would, but why is the guy next door with a natural depression on his lawn and grass doesn't have to? I have to eliminate odors. It's just arbitrary to me. I have to use biodegradable products when I clean my turf, but the guy next to me can use Roundup or whatever non-biodegradable product. So I guess I feel like this was born out of targeting the turf people, and I think it's clear that it was a matter of personal preference. And you basically just said that, it's personal preference. You don't like it, which is why you don't want to see it. And then these other restrictions on it, where did you get this information from? Did you talk to an installer? You know, I think it's not as easy to install artificial sod. It doesn't have a hard edge to go up to. And from an environmental perspective, we've more than proven the environmental impact we're going to have by the savings of gas-powered lawnmowers and the water and the pesticides and everything else. You signed a resolution that said you're going to decrease your carbon footprint by, I think it was something fantastic, like 80% by a certain time. These properties will do that for you. And I also I'm a little bit offended by the fact that I'm going to have less of a probability of being approved for using this product because I'm a second homeowner as opposed to a primary homeowner. That's not right.
Well, you understand your grandfathered in, correct?
I understand I'm grandfathered in, but I also own other property in town, and I may be expanding my property. So it does affect me. I own other undeveloped property in town. And I don't think it's fair. I think we were targeted with the initial letter based on an allegation of imperviousness that was proven false, but yet you have multiple residences throughout the town that violate that right now, and you're not doing anything about that. So are you going to do something about that? Are the people that have impervious cover in their right-of-way, or they're missing sod in their right-of-way, are they going to get letters like we did?
If the code enforcement deems it's appropriate, they will. But, and again, getting back to this comparison of, well, what about someone who has rocked? What if someone doesn't have a perfect lawn? It's in my humble estimation, it's a red herring.
I don't understand what that means. What's that mean?
It's an attempt to distract away from what we're regulating.
I still don't understand that. My allegation is I feel like we're being targeted because you don't like turf.
Right, I understand your allegation.
Is that true? Is it true or is it not true?
I disagree with you,
But you just said you didn't like it.
That's true. As the mayor of the town, I think if you drove down the street and everyone had plastic lawns, I don't think that would be the best for the town.
Okay, so that was your reason why we got the letters, and that's why we are where we are now. But still, I think I can understand quality of product, color of product, but I can't understand all these other arbitrary requirements. And I also can't understand that some people in town are allowed to violate an ordinance at the pleasure of the code enforcement officer, and others are not. I don't think that's fair.
I would respectfully disagree with you. It's up to the code enforcement officer to.
So if somebody is violating that ordinance, and another resident brought it to the code enforcement attention, you're telling me that it's up to his discretion as to whether to enforce it or not?
Just like every other
So your
law in
ordinance,
town, yes.
so then your ordinance matter of personal opinion of the code enforcement officer.
Every law we have in town that the police enforce and code enforcement enforce, yeah, they have discretion as to enforcing that law. They're given that authority, absolutely. Not just our town, every town.
I don't think that's how it works. I think that if your ordinance says that you have to have curb and sidewalk in the cart and somebody doesn't, then the town should either enforce that ordinance or change the ordinance.
Well, again, it's up to the code enforcement, it's their responsibility.
Okay, I'm just going in circles. All right, those are my opinions. I feel that the new ordinance is arbitrary, difficult to define, can't be seen from the road as difficult to be defined, and it contradicts itself. And it discriminates one neighbor against the next. You're treating them differently. My weeds matter, but their weeds don't matter. It doesn't. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well said. Any other comments, questions on this ordinance? Yes, sir.
David Schnapp, 302 C Street. I just want to mention that, like, that there's really nothing natural about grass growing in Belmar. Rye and fescue, these kind of plants, grass, they're not natural to this environment. They require all kinds of intervention, human intervention, irrigation, pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, all this stuff. So the argument that artificial grass isn't natural or doesn't look natural, it really doesn't hold water, because grass is not really natural to this environment to begin with. It's a sandy soil, doesn't hold water. If you don't water your grass dies in Belmar. That's a fact. You have to use a lot of water, especially during the summer when we have these heat waves. It takes a ton of water to keep this grass growing, a lot of waste of water. And one other thing I want to mention is, I walk my dog a lot, and everybody's got these little white flags, including you, Mayor, on their lawns, warning pesticides, to keep your dog off it. So, that's a problem too. When you're walking around and all these lawns all over the place, and on a lot of streets, it's like several properties in a row have these little white flags warning you that there's pesticides, that it's unsafe for animals, and if your dog walks on it, maybe you have to wipe her feet off when you're done, because then they lick their feet and they get the pesticides into their bodies. So at least with artificial turf, it's safe, it's safe for animals. We're not putting poisons down on the ground that get into animals, so the argument, I think, that artificial grass is not natural, it's like, you want to be natural? Look at my lawn. That's what grows here, absent human intervention. And there's not a lot of grass on it. If you look one side, my neighbor has a sprinkler, so the side near him gets some of his water and has some grass, but you get like 10 feet away from where his sprinkler overflows onto my lawn, there's almost no grass, and that's what grows here. So if you're really for the environment, you shouldn't be putting poisons down, especially some people live near the lake. One reason why I stopped using, I used to use the Scott's 1, 2, 3, 4 thing, and then I remember somebody was talking about like that, the runoff goes into Silver Lake, and that's when I stopped using it, because I don't want the stuff I put on my lawn ending up in the lake. So, I think probably the safest thing is let people use artificial turf, at least it's not putting poisons into the environment. Thank you.
Hey.
think if we speak to aesthetics on this point, right now we're talking turf. Speaking to aesthetics, we could get to many other features. If we don't like plastic and we like natural features, are we looking that homes should be made out of wood and not vinyl? Is vinyl an aesthetic we don't want to see in Belmar tomorrow? I don't know where we stop with this. That concerns me. Thank you, Councilman.
And I would tell you that I don't believe there is a slippery slope here. I don't think anyone's saying they should regulate the siding on a house. This is purely on walls. So hopefully no one believes there's a slippery slope anywhere. Any other comments, questions? Yes, sir.
I'm Jason Rusak, owner of Forever Lawn. Basically, on behalf of some of my customers that emailed me questions to ask if they could be here today. Most of them are seasonal owners. One thing you mentioned was they wouldn't do it at their own home. That's strictly on cost. Synthetic turf is an investment, it's a long-term investment. They did beautify their homes, and it's just costly to do an acre home delt, where it is to 500 square feet here in Belmar. The other thing I have a question about is the commercial. You say there's no synthetic grass allowed in any of the commercial properties in town, is that right? In the ordinance?
Yeah.
That's all one. The town of Avon has just purchased a playground which we'll be installing next week. I'll let you guys take a look at it, right next to the community pool. It's an excellent safety surface, very inviting to the kids. I noticed you have the miniature golf right on 35. That's artificial grass there. So I'm just curious why the commercial is also banned on that ordinance. I don't know if there's basically answers for that, but.
Well, the two examples you use, I mean, one is a municipal park, I guess they're.
Well, it's the playground, yeah, it's right next to the city pool in North Carolina.
Just like you would see on a municipal baseball field or football field, you know, MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
To try to compare that to the front lawn.
No, why is it banned in the ordinance?
Is, I think it's a red herring.
No, but why is it banned in the ordinance for golf? Like in this ordinance, you're banning fields, is that correct? Commercial zones?
Commercial zones, but if down the line, the Borough of Belmar decided to replace the fields with artificial turf, it's public property, it's not private
But
property.
specifically addressed in the ordinance. So if it's banned in commercial, so the example showing miniature golf mats, you'd have to get all kinds of variances to the miniature golf, just generally. And two, the last line of section A is, except as may be allowed for designated sports fields on public property upon approval by the governing body. So you can, both those circumstances are covered.
Yeah, I mean, the lady, just everything fine. Very well, everything. All right, guys, thank you.
Hi, I was on Zoom 1719. A few meetings ago, we stood up here, and Mayor, you told me you were at my house and you thought my lawn looked really nice. And you see it was well maintained and didn't know the difference between the turf and natural grass. There's a different opinion tonight. Everybody has a right to change their opinion, but a few weeks ago, you were actually praising the way that my lawn looked. Now you're putting some clauses in there about maintaining and taking care of the weeds, et cetera, et cetera. I take care of my property.
Right, I don't think, again, I've been to your property, I don't think you'll have any issues at all with this ordinance. I don't want to say it doesn't apply to you, but you're grandfathered in, you maintain it, I think your husband.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are
Yeah, we take
fine.
care of our property.
But as the mayor of the town, again, yours was great, as the mayor of the town, do I think that we should have blocks and blocks and blocks of plastic walls? And when I think about that, my answer is no, in all honesty. But again, you were not impacted at all by this ordinance, just so we're clear. So you're speaking about other people, I understand that, but for your lawn.
And now there's.
So I haven't changed my opinion. I still think your lawn is great.
Well, now we're gonna have to maintain our lawn, and I maintain it to those standards anyway.
Right.
So I'm not concerned about that, but do I have to be worried about being under a microscope, that if I do miss a weed somewhere?
Change it.
No, no. I mean, and saying that we're targeting people is, I mean, for some reason, this has become more of an emotional than a logical issue. No one's gonna be targeted, no one's unduly burdened if they have this. All we're saying is that in the future, it has to be in the backyard because there's more functionality to that, it kind of makes more sense. In the front yard, it really, when you look at the entire town, if the entire town had artificial turf in the backyard, I hate to say it, but who really cares? If everyone had it in the front yard, it would change the look of the town. I think it's tough to argue against. And from my perspective, I can't look at individual one-on-one. I have to look at the whole governing body does, look at the entire town and how it looks. So again, in your case, you guys look great. The gentleman on 13th Avenue, his front lawn looks great. I mean, I'm not gonna argue with you at all on that. I think you've done a great job, and I'm sure it's very expensive, as the gentleman who came here before said as well. For me, it's the idea of, if it's where it's at now and it's maintained, I don't think the town should have any problem. We're not gonna send code enforcement out and try to find a weed growing somewhere. We're not going to. And so that's just, I understand your concerns on it, because I think people are stoking these concerns that aren't needed. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. And my other issue, again, obviously I have the turf, we've had it for many, many years. We are still not on record of receiving a letter or receiving anything following up from the last meeting.
You mean the letters telling you to remove it? I don't know if you need something in writing. We already stated on the record months ago that there is no enforcement of that letter. No one's going to receive any fines. Anyone who received the letter.
I believe we also just contact code enforcement and just get a letter saying we're aware that you have artificial turf as of this date, so to speak.
Yeah. So again,
so that we can feel comfortable in that way.
I understand there are people that are stoking fears and think that this may be some type of a wedge issue for them. Trust me when I tell you, a year from now, you'll be like, why were we even worrying about it? 5 years from now, you'll be like, it's just. See another public comment? We only have one time. I'll make a motion to close the public portion of this, of the public hearing for ordinance 2017-10.
Second?
Aye.
Next, I'll offer and move for adoption of ordinance 2017-10.
Second?
Second.
Councilman Ryder?
No.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barrett?
Yes.
Councilman Oscar?
I agree, we need an ordinance for color and type, but I have to vote no the way it is.
Councilman McGovern?
It's not a perfect ordinance. I think we better things to fit for it. I'm a believer natural is better than for the environment than artificial. You have electric lawnmowers, battery-operated lawnmowers, you have organic fertilizers, you have natural insect controls, nematodes for your lawn. You don't have to use chemicals. As I said, I don't think it's a perfect ordinance, but I'm going to go yes.
All right, ordinance is approved. Next ordinance 2017-11, second reading public hearing, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 19 traffic of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, section 19-46, handicap parking spaces. So for public hearing, any public comment, questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for this ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll offer and move for adoption ordinance 2017-11.
Second.
Councilman Ryder?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darty?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Next ordinance, 2017-12, second reading, public hearing, ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This is something we do routinely every year. Robbie can explain it better to me, but by law, we have to do this. So any public comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2017-12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll offer a move for adoption, ordinance 2017-12.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darty?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Next ordinance, 2017-13, ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending the revised general ordinances, chapter 28, fire protection and prevention, adding additional fire protection prevention regulations and enforcement violations and penalties. This is also known as the marina.
No, this is the fire
Oh,
prevention.
sorry, fire prevention, sorry, marina's next. Marina's two. So this is for fire prevention, it's a public hearing. Any public comment questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2017-13.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll offer and move for adoption, ordinance 2017-13.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darty?
I'm going to vote yes, and also thank Ryan,
Yes.
our new fire marshal,
Fire marshal.
who's doing an outstanding job putting this together. Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Next ordinance, 2017-14. Second reading, public hearing on this ordinance, is ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending the revised general ordinances, chapter 40, development regulations, to expand the circumstances under which a non-conforming structure may be restored after destruction by casualty. So, to translate that, this is the ordinance that would permit a home that was destroyed by a fire to rebuild the same way it was before the fire, even if it was pre-existing non-conforming to existing zoning. So we have two of the families that unfortunately had their properties destroyed on 10th Avenue recently. Both those properties are pre-existing non-conforming or have pre-existing non-conforming features to them. So what this would allow them is the ability to rebuild without having to go before a zoning board, much like we did for folks who wanted to rebuild after Sandy. So I'm not sure if you guys wanted to come up and say anything or. No? All right. And well, and also just to embarrass them, I did marry both Diane and Mark this week. So I asked Mayor if she might marry Frank again. She said no.
Didn't ask me.
Why I say yes?
So this is open for public hearing. Any public comments, questions on this? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2017-14.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll offer a move for adoption of ordinance 2017-14.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darty?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Next ordinance, and we are busy. Ordinance 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very
Thank you.
welcome. And best of luck rebuilding.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2017-15, first reading introduction, ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amended revised general ordinances, chapter 40, development regulations to include standards for commercial boat storage in the MC1 and MC2 zoning districts. This is an ordinance that addresses the issues we saw out of the significant boat fire at the marina on 5th Avenue. That boat fire happened back on February 14th.
Valentine's Day.
It was Valentine's Day. So this is just for first reading and introduction. So I'll offer ordinance 2017-15 for first reading and introduction.
I'll second.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Darty?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes. Next ordinance, 2017-16, this is first reading introduction ordinance to the Borough of Belmar, amended and revised general ordinances, chapter 28, fire protection and prevention, revised certain non-life hazard annual registration fees, and the maximum penalty. We traditionally try to keep fees changeable by resolution, so that future councils can change them with more ease. Unfortunately, the state requires that our fire fees and penalties are done by ordinance. So again, I want to thank Ryan for his diligent work as our new fire marshal putting this together for us. So I'll offer ordinance 2017-16 for first reading and introduction tonight.
Second.
Council Cronin?
Yes.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
So that ends our ordinances. So now is public session. Public session is very simple. Raise your hand when you're called on, come to the microphone. You have 5 minutes to talk to the council about the important issues here in the lovely town of Belmar. Yes.
Maria Florio, 115 12th Avenue. This is not a complaint, but I'd like to know what the duties are for the special ones. Is there anyone that could answer? I know.
You want to know what the duties are?
Of the special
Depends
one.
on
Please.
how the chief wants to use them, depending on the day, depending on the time. Do you want to know what the limitations are?
No, what are their duties? What are they supposed to do? For instance, a car parked across the sidewalk. They were walking and they never said anything, so I said, you know, there's an ordinance that you're not allowed to park that way. He said, well, you have to call. I said, I didn't know that. I have to do your job. I thought that's a parking violation, more or less. So I had to give him the okay to call and say that that car should be removed. Well, isn't that their duty to, if they see cars parked across the driveway, the sidewalk, that it's a no-no? You have to walk out in the street to get around?
Yeah, so you're asking, is it their duty to do what?
Give them a ticket?
Well, I'll ask the
Well, that's what I want to
captain.
know.
Absolutely. They might not be assigned to that area, but if they see a violation, they should write it.
So special ones can write summons.
Yes, they can. They can write that parking. And there'll be some that will address that briefing, the class ones.
Right.
You know, if they're on their way to their post and they see a violation, they should write it. Absolutely.
But they don't need a complaint?
No, they do not.
Witnesses, they don't need a complaint?
No, they don't.
No, well, I was told that I
they can
have
write
to
it on
give
their
the
own.
okay for them to get in touch.
The captain will make a note.
And also, I'm a little disturbed about parking in front of the Belmar Inn. There's a fire hydrant there. And they park there, and I also addressed the policeman. He said, well, I'll go over and I'll talk to him, but then he said, okay, you can stay there. So there we go. Come on. Where are we going with?
Well, it's up to the circumstance, we could probably address it better.
Was it the same officer?
No, it was on a bicycle. You know, Memorial Day weekend was horrendous. It was terrible. You know where I live, Mayor. We do have less rentals, but the amount of rentals that come in, I had 50 on the porch next door. Drinking out in the street, cups in their hands. I mean, what kind of quality is that? And you know it.
Well, I would tell you, we had a very busy Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Our police department did an outstanding job.
And I'm not
managing
saying
it.
that they didn't,
But
but
I would also tell you that a lot of these complaints that we receive are reoccurring. So I'm sure that if you looked at complaints from 15 years ago on Memorial Day.
so that makes it okay? Aren't we supposed to better this? They just renovated that house, the Berkeley Inn, where there's 20 occupants in there. They had 100 people. They had flags all over the front, you know.
Right, no, I understand that, and that's where, I mean, you weren't complaining, so. But people are allowed to put flags in front of their houses. They are.
5, 6.
I don't know if we have a regulation on how
I
many
don't
flags
know.
can fly.
I have to, the American flag in the Belmar.
But yeah, though, they can fly flags on the front of their house.
Okay. So then, because this has been told year after year after year that we don't have to do anything about it.
Well, our police address issues as they see them, as they come up. You just noted that something occurred and the police did not address that. The police department appreciates you bringing that to their attention, and they'll make sure that the special ones know. I mean, Memorial Day weekend, we have a lot of brand-new police officers, a lot. So it's their first weekend here in Belmar, and they
I
get
just
thrown
want to know
into
what their duties are. I'm not saying anything about them. I think they're great, they're very sociable, they say hello, they listen to you. I want to know.
No, they are great. The point I'm making is that, whether it was 15 years ago or probably 15 years from now, on Memorial Day weekend, probably around 4th of July, probably Labor Day weekend, the town is inundated with people, always has, probably always will.
Understand that.
And there are going to be issues where there are.
And it's not only Memorial Day. Come on. If it rains, we're lucky. Otherwise, it continues.
I understand.
A little different from where you live, Mayor. A little different.
It is different from where I live, you're right.
I'm saying little because I want to be nice.
Then you want to be nice. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
You want?
Come on up, just go from the microphone.
Hi, Mark Lucasavage, 310 10th Avenue. I come here tonight with a great deal of gratitude to the town of Belmar tonight. Gratitude to the mayor for marrying me and my wife Diane today. I appreciate that very much. Gratitude to the board to grant the ordinance that we can rebuild the house the way we had it. And especially for the fire that we had at our house in April. I wish to express gratitude to the whole town of Belmar, the police department, the EMS, and the fire departments, from other areas. And I feel blessed that we're here tonight to talk to you because of the great work of these departments. I just want to thank everyone for helping us that night. And I feel blessed, and I'm sure my wife Diane also feels blessed that we live in this great town of Belmar, and we're very happy to live here and look forward to living here many years. And if there's anything you guys need, please let us know, because we would like to return a favor.
Well,
You mean for your honeymoon, you brought your wife to a council meeting?
Short-lived marriage.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, this is a great town.
Not Frank Sinelli.
As you guys know, a lot of interesting things happen in Belmar. This is just one of those nights. So I just want to express my gratitude again, and thank you very much.
And again, whatever we can do to help you expedite rebuilding, please let us know. As far as getting permits done as quickly as possible for your inspections.
And thank you, April, for helping us out with everything. And I'm just so happy to be here. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Tom.
Tom Volker, 527 8th Avenue. As Mark and Jennifer said, at the Belmar Business Partnership, we've been talking about, particularly that ordinance. But then there was a question that I couldn't answer, and I just want to ask. When somebody comes and asks for a permit to do whatever, within the town, do they get a copy of the ordinance that tells them what watch out for, or a little sheet that says boom, 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 bunch of bullets? Do we do anything like that?
I guess my question would be, everyone applies for different permits. So let's say someone applies for a.
Well, say it was the
Electrical
canopy,
permit.
you know, say if we permitted a canopy, and whatever we write down, you know, it's gotta be anchored, or you need an architect, or whatever it is, you know, to clue the people in as to what to look for.
So if I could jump in there, for issues like canopies and awnings, April's done a really phenomenal job in creating kind of a awnings 101 handout that's given to everybody who pulls a permit in hopes of helping to educate them to the difference of an awning or a canopy. Sometimes it's not known until they then come back with a permit that they didn't understand it. We work with them. So I think the answer is it depends. It depends on, most permits are pulled by professional contractors who have intricate knowledge of the code. And then in other areas, April's always helping them out. So we do a great deal of education.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what the issues we run into sometimes on awnings, right? But you understand that it could be hurricane rated.
Right.
So you can't just put an awning that you can put up in Hamilton.
Right.
Well, I don't know, is the material of the bracketing, it's how is it attached to the building?
It's how it's attached to the building, that is what the building official looks at.
Gotcha. Yep.
Good evening, Katrina Klapsis, 1304 B Street. Kind of picking up on what Maria was saying, living south of 10th is a totally different experience than most of you fine people who are up on that dais and days, whatever. I know you were on 10th, but 11th. You're on 11th, all right. Well, down in our end, you know, saying Memorial Day is rough is like an understatement. And to say that it's only Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day is an understatement. It's all summer, it's rough. Police do a great job, they come, there's no complaints about the police department, they do a great job. I have a couple questions about how many times a property can be ticketed. And back in the day when I first bought my house and things were starting to clean up in Belmar, there used to be a sheriff's car sitting in front of properties that were continually ticketed. I have not seen one in at least 6 years. So I'm wondering whatever happened to that. Can somebody explain the sheriff's department? I know it used to be, correct me if I'm wrong, the landlord would have to pay for the sheriff to sit in front of their house out of whatever that bond is you ran, the animal house bond. Am I correct on that, or?
Well, first you asked the question, how many tickets can a house receive? There's no limit.
Okay, but isn't there, so an eviction, can there be an eviction?
We cannot evict people.
They used to evict people after so many. Am I?
The town, I don't think the town has the capacity to evict someone from there.
So,
Normally, when I was on the police department, the evictions came in when there was a lot of fire hazards. And they created it inside, that they would, you know, destroy the house inside. It became a fire issue where smoke detectors were going on. That's when the evictions really took place, when it was those kind of code violations. But I think just for the noise issues, they have to get 3 summonses, and then they have to be convicted of 3 summonses to become an animal house. And then that's when the sheriff's department used to come in and have to sit in front of the house for the rest of the summer. But I think it was 3 summonses, and they had to be convicted of 3.
Right, and it would be the following year. What we've instituted now, which is stricter than any time ever in Belmar, is the town, if a house is a problem on an annual basis, we now do not issue them a certificate of occupancy.
and is that the mercantile license? Is that to do with the mercantile license?
It is tied to the mercantile, but it's the CO.
But it's the CO, that's what's important. So we have, I think it was 3.
3 houses.
3 houses this year, that because they were so bad in the past, they're not gonna be able to rent anymore. First time it's ever happened. So we're stricter now than ever before. Frank was here before telling you, one of the things we really pushed on is improving interior and exterior of the homes, more now than ever before. Whether or not there's a sheriff's officer in front of a house is really up to the chief of police, not up to the governing body. He's in charge of public safety, he decides whether or not one gets put there.
Okay, who would, if there was who would pay for that sheriff's car if the chief of police deemed that it was necessary? Does the landlord pay for
Or
it?
have the animal house bond.
Yes, that comes out of animal house bond. Okay, and one more thing I want to clarify, with the 3 properties that you did not renew, give them a CO, what were the circumstances, like in other words, what level did they have to hit in order for you not to renew?
I'm sorry, I explained earlier, but I have to again. So if you're at maximum animal house bond and you receive one more notice.
More tickets,
you're not
more tickets.
Notice
noise
You
ticket.
go one more after that.
And, okay, so when you say maximum animal house bond, could you just explain that?
There's a statutory maximum of how much we can require an animal house to put into the bond escrow.
Okay.
We can't, on a local level, legislate over that amount.
Right. But we can give them, if you get one more ticket, you don't get a CO. That's what we can do.
Okay, and what is that bond amount?
5,000.
Okay, 5,000, so I'm a little dense, so just so I know. So I'm a landlord, I'm a designated animal house, I have to put up a $5,000 bond. So are we saying that every time the tenants get a ticket, that dollar amount gets taken from the landlord? I'm a little confused. Pardon me?
Wait, no, if someone receives a ticket,
Right.
they have to pay the ticket.
This is separate, they're tenants, they have nothing to do with it, right? I mean, in other
I
words,
would
the animal
think
house.
that's
I
to do
can-
with the bond.
I can explain the process to try to.
That would be great.
So if a property already has an animal house bond in place,
Mhm.
they only need one summons in a 12-month period. And then after they get that one summons, we bring them in for another hearing, and we'll deduct the cost of issuing that ticket, processing the ticket in court, my time for sending out the notices to the landlord, the hearing officer and the judge's time for processing the hearing on that ticket. All that money comes out of their animal house bond, which is anywhere from $500 to $5,000. And then typically what we do is we take that money out of the bond to recoup our costs. They have to replenish it back into the bond for the next summer, and we'll also increase their bond an additional 500 or so, whatever the hearing officer determines is appropriate. And then if you are not an animal house, you need 2 tickets before you have a hearing, and at that time is when we would establish how much of a bond you would post. And
If
then,
you need the 3rd ticket.
no, it's 2.
Oh, just 2.
2.
That's the conviction, right?
Right.
Okay, so the conviction, okay, that's a great point, because thank you. Actually, that doesn't actually happen until after the summer's over, correct? I mean, these tickets get given out now, but they don't go to court until way after the summer's over, correct?
Well, they try to schedule quickly in court when there's a violation.
The landlord gets notified usually within a week of the ticket being issued, that their tenant's got a ticket, which tenant got the ticket. And then the hearings are usually held in September or October, but most of the landlords have in their leases language that allows them to evict their tenants based on them getting these noise tickets and putting them more into the animal house issue.
Right. Because I bought my house in 2002, so believe me, I understand, that this has been going on forever. But when you live down in that area, you just cannot understand how intolerable it is. I mean, Jennifer, you have children. I'd love you to come down on Saturday night and sit on the front porch with your children and listen to what goes on around you. I mean, you just cannot understand how incredibly awful it is. And so it's, I actually had somebody say to me recently that they went down by in front of DJs, and they were taking a video of DJs, and she lives in the North End, and she said, I cannot believe how horrible it was. And I want to be like, yeah, because you live in the North End, so you don't know how horrible it is. And I understand that it's been going on forever, but I think what Maria's point is that when we come up here frustrated, we want you guys to help us. We want the town, and maybe you're doing everything you can. It's not about the police, I understand all that. But year after year after year, it just becomes, you have no idea what it's like. I can't even can't invite people over on the weekend because you're gonna have drunken people urinating on your lawn, or, foul language like would make somebody blush. You were worried about the people writing FU in that playground, inside the tunnel of a playground. We live with that all weekend long. Tuesday night, now we have RA, feed the clock, and wandering through town like a bunch of madness are young people defecating, urinating, screaming, yelling. I'm sorry, you just have to understand how frustrating it can be for those of us that live in that area. And we were worried about artificial turf, not for nothing. But having 20 people next door, cursing and screaming, F you, F this, N word, this word, that word, is a heck of a lot better. A heck of a lot worse than looking at some artificial turf.
Well, I would tell you, one has nothing to do with the other. To say artificial turf has anything to do with quality of life issues is.
Well, you deem that a quality of life. Let's not argue about it, Mayor. Please don't say to us how.
I would also tell you this, to come up here and say, oh, you don't understand.
I don't think you do understand.
Mark also, how many years were you a police officer? 25 years. You don't think he understands what goes on in this town?
Mark walks through
Brian,
his
how
blood.
long have you lived in this town?
Well, can you tell you how old I am?
You've lived in this town for 6 years. You don't think he understands what goes on in this town? You don't think I don't understand what goes on in this town? I can tell you what goes on every street in this town.
Well, good. Could you help
Because
us do
I make
something
it-
about it? Is what
I'll
we're
explain
asking
to
you.
you. First off, you're wrong when you say this council doesn't understand. You're wrong. You're dead wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. What I said to Ms. Florio, what I would say to you as well, we do have a certain type of culture in the summer. You knew that in 2002. The police and our Department of Public Works do an outstanding job.
I know.
Are bars like RA noisy? Absolutely. Do a lot of people attend DJs? Absolutely. They kind of always have, and more than likely they always will. So to try to say, I want everything to change around me is not gonna happen.
Excuse me, that is not what I
It's
said.
not
Please
gonna
don't put words in my mouth and say that I'm
exactly what
saying
you're
that to you.
exactly
Because
what
you
you're
bring your children down and sit on somebody's front porch on the weekend, your lovely little children, and tell me that you think it's okay. That you're gonna do you're doing everything you can. Mayor, it's bull. We are asking you for help is what we're saying, so please don't talk condescending to me. This is
You're not gonna
something
come
you
up
do
here.
all the time. Your condescension, it's just
Thank you for your
ridiculous.
comments.
Yeah, thank you. This is what we get all the time, and you wonder
All the
why
time.
people are frustrated, right?
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Towns don't change around people.
No, you should help us change the town.
Towns don't change around people.
That's your job, to help us change the town.
Yes, aren't from all.
Please. Don't get satisfied. Oh.
How you doing, Mayor and Council? It's been a while since I've been here. I attended
Name
some
and
of
address, please.
Mark Kirschbaum, West Belmar. I attended some of the Monmouth County Tax Board hearings with the people of Belmar, because they helped out some people. And the very first people that came up, the council, they told them, just give us your best comp, because we don't want to be here like all day and we'll look at all the evidence later. So they gave them like the first two, and they looked at their evidence, and they said, you know what, you got out-of-date comps, and you got non-usable codes there. They really won't be taken into consideration as evidence. And the people said, okay, and then the appraisal company went, and they listed all their comps. But I have a list of non-usable codes and out-of-date comps for the entire town. Plus I did a few people. They had 4 wrong, but they didn't tell the people from Belmar. So when the people from Belmar got the letter saying you rejected or you didn't come down at all, they thought, well, we had bad comps, it was bad. They didn't realize that the other side was twice as worse. It was amazing to watch. So I went to the Monmouth County Tax Board meeting. Apparently I'm the only one that goes. And I questioned them on that. I said, some people from Belmar, you told them about the non-usable comps and stuff when realty appraisal went. You didn't tell the people from Belmar about their non-usable codes. They said, listen, we take everything into consideration. We bend over backwards for the people of Belmar and Monmouth County, and we look at all the evidence, and we're very fair. The 5 of them get together at the end of the week, and they tell you what their assessment is. Now, none of the people on the board are certified assessors. 2 of them were being trained as they were doing this. It's a political appointment. And then I said, well, you give the appraisal company 3 years to look for comps. They said, well, if you can't find comps in the first year, you can go back 2 more. I said, but you hold the people to 1 year. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, well, here's your paperwork. And the guy came up and read it. And his face got red, and he snorted, and this and that. He threw it down. I said, well, can you change it so the people's hands aren't tied behind your backs? He refused to answer. It was amazing what happened to the people of Belmar and other municipalities. And when they say they've been over backwards, they're not the ones bending over backwards. The people in Belmar and other towns are the ones that have been over backwards. Well, now I lost my train of thought for a minute. But I just wanted to let you know that when you said it was unfair, and I got a friend that lives in town, and he came to talk to your local tax assessor, who I like to point out that when he was up here in October, he definitely lied about everything, which I've already said. He was talking to the guy, and he says, do you work for the people of Belmar, or do you work for the appraisal company? And the guy got nasty with him. And my friend got up and said, listen, I'm about to do something I'm gonna regret. I'm leaving. This talk is over. And that's how people have been treated by the county, by tax assessors. I just think it was unfair to the people, because a lot of people that got up there that should have been lowered, they use class 1 properties, which class 1 property is empty land. And to have a viable comp, it has to be, do you have a house and land? You gotta use like the same size square foot house and land against you. They used a 15,000 square foot lot against people. And that lot was valued at 500,000. But if your lot was 5,000 or 7,500, they said your land was worth 450. So I says, is all your information incorrect? You say you go in the computer, you give the people the best thing. He said, yes. So I said, well, here's a deed sheet. It was a deed sheet from Belmar, a house that sold in 2015. It said it was built in 1938. I said, what year was this house built in? They said 1938. I said, wrong. It was almost totally torn down and rebuilt in 2015.
Yeah, 30 more seconds.
Okay. It sold for $800,000. After the revaluation, it lost $120,000 in value. I said, but when people come up with their house is built in 1940, and you say this house is built in 1938 and sold for this, it's not the truth. The people aren't getting the truth. They said, well, we haven't updated our computers. I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Schneck, 302 C Street. I've mentioned this before, made the suggestion, and I'd like to humbly make it again, is that, we have a public session sometime near the beginning of a meeting, because this is so unfair to the public. You know, they come here and they have some issue they want to address with the council. Tonight we have a double agenda because the last meeting was canceled, and here it is almost 9 o'clock. People have been here for 3 hours. You know, they don't know what time the meeting's going to end, so they can't say, well, I'll come at 8:30 because skip all that other stuff, you know. So they come to the meeting starts at 6. These people have to sit here for 3 hours before they finally have a chance to address the council. And I've suggested this several times over the years, that we have a public session near the beginning of the meeting. Other towns do it, where Spring Lake does it, Blood does it, I know some other towns do it, where people who have a concern, they want to come and talk to the council, they don't want to sit through a budget hearing, they don't want to sit through your reports to council, and all this other stuff. They just want to come and address their representatives, and then go home at a reasonable time. So I beg you, have another session at the beginning of the meeting. Let these people say what they need to say, ask what they need to ask, let them go home. So don't make everybody sit through this whole meeting. Look how many people have gone home already, you know. People come here and they want to talk about stuff, and they give up, they go home. They don't even bother waiting, you know, so please. I know you don't like me, you know, and I know you don't want to do anything I suggest, but please take that under consideration. Be fair to the public and let them come and see you without having to sit through all of this, you know. Another thing I want to address is, yeah, Belmar is a wild town, party town, crowded, it gets really crowded, but, you know, we go out of our way to try to attract more and more people here. And, yeah, when people come here, a lot of them cause problems, but we bring a lot of this on ourselves because we're using media companies, advertising companies, tourism commission, hire Spark Marketing, whatever, using social media, all this stuff, trying to push tourism, trying to push people to come here. And, you know, a certain percentage of the people are going to behave badly. So the more people that come here, the more overall number of people we have behaving badly. We don't need to have 50,000 people in our town on a Saturday. It doesn't do anything for the people that live here. It doesn't help, it helps the bars, it helps the restaurants. It doesn't do anything for the residents. They can't even park their cars in front of their houses because the town gets so crowded. People I happen to know that want to visit me from another part of town, if it's on a Saturday or something, they got to get a ride because they don't want to move their car from in front of their house because then they won't be able to park near their house for the rest of the weekend. So this is largely a self-inflicted problem because we're spending money trying to attract more and more people to the town. We don't need it, you know. We should be looking out for the people that live here. And then the third thing I want to mention is that when we have a person who lives near a liquor license establishment that comes up here when their license is up for renewal on the resolution calendar, and I'm referring to Ms. Mahoney over here, and she comes up here because tonight was Chef International's liquor license hearing. Certain parties that are supposed to recuse themselves from discussions and hearings and deliberations over a liquor license, it's not just voting. They're supposed to recuse themselves on the discussions and any public deliberations on that license. So I just want you to understand that on our conflict of interest laws, 9-4, paragraph C, it doesn't just say voting. When there's if someone is conflicted out of participating at a public hearing for a liquor license, it means that when Ms. Mahoney came up here to talk about Chef International because they were having their liquor license renewed tonight.
That's your 5 minutes.
You should have recused. You both should have not participated in that discussion.
Thank you, David, that's 5 minutes. So a couple of things David talked about. One of them was people staying here for a while towards the end of the meeting. If people have real issues and real concerns, they email us. The gentleman before emailed us, came up, read it, we'll put that into the record. If anyone has any issues, concerns, they can email me at mayor@belmar.com. We have our recorded now. They can call the police department if they have an issue or concern. They can reach out to any member of the council. So to say, oh, I gotta wait till the one time a month to come up and talk to the council is complete nonsense. If you have a real issue, people reach out to the town. As far as attracting more people, we do things to attract more people. That's true. One of the things that we did starting years ago is to ensure that we could say we have the cleanest bathrooms at the Jersey Shore. So to do that, we have to have a bathroom attendant that sits there, and they get paid for sitting there, and they clean up the bathroom after everyone goes in. One time, they go in right after them and clean it up. that is an effort to attract more families to town. Absolutely. I think the more families we attract to Belmar, the better. We have Moby Mats more than any other town at the Jersey Shore because it makes it more accessible for folks who have mobility challenges, but it also makes it easier for moms with strollers. Again, attracting more families to town. We have more free playgrounds on the Belmar Beach than any beach from Cape May all the way up to Sandy Hook. Again, to attract more families to town. So do we go out and attract more families to town? Absolutely. Do we, as a town, advertise our bars? No. To suggest it is nonsense. Those folks are coming here anyway. I would tell you, I'd rather have 50,000 families come to town that act appropriately as opposed to 10 people that get out of hand and end up in our jail cells. So no, we're not going to stop that. It would be ridiculous to stop that. People are going to come to Belmar anyway. They always have. What I think we need to do as a town is try to reach out to the type of people that we want to attract to come to our town. And lastly, this ties into a couple other comments tonight, that we should look out for the people who live here. I mean, that's got to be, it's got to be one of the dumbest comments I ever heard, that the mayor and council don't look out for the people that live here. Of course we look out for the people who live here. Of course we do. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you have Tom Brennan, how many years have you been teaching in Belmar?
16.
16 years. You know how many kids he's taught, how many families he knows? Of course he looks out for the people in Belmar. So to say that we should look out for the people in Belmar and that we put tourists first, even politically that makes no sense. Tourists don't vote. Tourists aren't going to vote in this year's election. Tom, how many tourists are going to vote for you? None. So even selfishly, it doesn't make any sense to look out for other people outside of our town. The things we do, the tourists that come to our town, they provide revenue for our small businesses. Ask anyone, so that they can survive through the summer. You take a place like Taylor Hardware. He does very well during the summer, so he can survive throughout the winter. So if those tourists didn't come, our town would die. I mean, I don't understand how difficult this is to understand. I mean, you saw the budget presentation before. We've done an outstanding job keeping property taxes flat, actually saving more money than any other town in the state of New Jersey. That's because we put the people who live here first. That's the priority. I mean, it's as obvious can be. To say anything other than that flies right in the face of logic and reasoning, and seems more it's bent on an agenda, to be quite honest with you. So anyway, just have to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
It's on.
I was just saying what Tom Gilberger, 1,000 River Road, except what Maria said and the other lady. They're correct, but your answer, all your answers, you talking 15 years here, or whatever, my wife's been here when it all first grade, all the way through St. Rose, and she moved away and everything, we're back. But to equate 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, and 50 years ago, as my wife was here and everything, with the people that came and through the years and everything to this town, they carried on, of course. But to equate that 15, 20, 30 years ago with today is not correct. That's out of line. What you have today here is incrementally worse and worse and worse and worse. It's not staying at one level. It's getting worse and worse all the time. So to try to say, oh, well, it's always like that. No, it's not. No, it's not. People didn't defecate in public. Now they do. Urination, yes. The men have always done that for a long time. Now, from what I understand, it's gone to the women. Mother of Jesus, I mean, that's not good. That's not good. You gotta get a handle on this, Mr. Mayor. Something is gonna happen here. Something, you escaped a bullet a couple, 3 years ago, whenever you had that Fizz Festival and whatever else was going on. We really got lucky that time. But something's gonna happen here, something really bad. And because you're poo-pooing what these people are saying, oh, well, it's always that way. No, it's not. It's worse. Don't just try to run that by people. It's not the same anymore. It's much worse. Thank you.
Again, I would have to argue with that. If you talk to, when he was with us, if you would talk to Jack Mooney, who was a police chief, you would talk to Danny Moynihan, police chief, Chief Allen, Chief Lynch, Chief Hill, Chief Palmisano, it has gotten substantially better in Belmar. Substantially better. So to say otherwise, again, you can make that statement, just know that it's not true. And you know, as the mayor, I'm not gonna sit here and allow people to say,
You're a
things have
comedian,
gotten-
Mr. Mayor.
Things have gotten so much worse, when in fact, it's the absolute opposite. Yes, Ms. Mullin. Go.
I know everybody's falling asleep, so I'll try to be quick. So this, I'm not up here to complain, but
Just
this
name
is
that just for reference, I'm sorry.
Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. Off the record, last year, someone told me that when they repaved Ocean Avenue, they were going to be putting in some of those bicycle insignias. I'm a big bicyclist. I wish we had more off-road trails, but we don't. So the only choice we have is to ride on the road, and I ride Ocean Avenue a lot. So I appreciate the line that was added, but some people are using that space between the line and where the cars end for parking and for dropping their stuff and for standing and for loitering, whatever. So it's more of an awareness thing. Now, I understand it's county road. I talked to the county already. They said Belmar just needs to request to put the insignias in the road, and they will do it. I don't know what cost, but that would definitely help. I know the other towns have it, even on Main Street. It just basically helps for the bicyclists, the cars to be aware that they are there. Okay, I know there's a new law in New Jersey that it's a 4 feet variance between a car and a bicycle. That's state law. That, as well as anything we can do to share the road. And you share the road signs to say, especially in the summertime, a lot more people are biking in town because of the parking issue, okay? Biking either to the bars, to the other town, whatever. So you have a lot more of that bike traffic here. So it's more of a safety thing for kids, for adults. Since we can't ride on the boardwalk, we have to ride on the street. So tell me how I can go about addressing this, who I need to talk to about getting this done.
We'll work on they're called sharrows. The share the lane arrows. They have them in Bradley Beach as well. We think we can do them on Ocean Avenue in that area that you mentioned, between where the cars park heading north, the north side of Ocean Avenue. On Main Street, it's a little bit more challenging. Well, it's thinner and it's busier. So again, Ocean Avenue, I think we're in good shape with. I know we talked about 16th Avenue as well. Main Street may be tough. I wanted to as well, but talking with the engineers,
If I could, both 16th Avenue and Ocean Avenue are county roads, and the mayor and I have a meeting in a couple of weeks with the county on some traffic safety issues. This will be done.
Right, we've talked about this several times, yeah.
But no, the more I believe the more biking the better. The more bike racks we can get up on the beachfront, the better. So I agree with you 100%. It's just trying to keep people safe while they're on their bikes.
And I have one more thing.
Yep.
Is there a difference between a restaurant and a bar in town? Well, I mean, as far as a business license is concerned.
No, they're both businesses. A bar is able to, they have a license to distribute liquor.
But, okay. Question regards prices that they charge and the way they're taxed.
Okay,
I'll give you an example.
They would pay the same state tax.
There's an establishment in town that has prices on the menu. If you pay cash, they round up to the next dollar because they don't have change behind the bar. They have quarters, they don't have dimes, they don't have nickels, they don't have pennies. So when I got, I was there with a bar with a bunch of friends, and I, had a drink, and I said, well, your drink was $12, a glass of wine. $12, but they gave me, I gave them a 20, and they gave me 7 back. I said, well, that's $13. She said, oh, it counts tax. I said, well, I'm sorry, tax the dollars. Oh, no, we round up because we don't have the change. And then the bartender
That's
actually
illegal.
had the audacity to give me a quarter and said, I'm losing money on this by giving you a quarter back. So, anyway, it's Marina Grill, by the way, that's doing that. So now maybe in credit card, they're able to, you know, charge the nickel sometimes, but in cash, they're basically less on the people.
You're saying they're telling you it costs one thing and charging you another?
Correct.
And marking the difference of the tax.
Marking it up, instead of like other establishments might include tax in the price, okay, of a beer, $2.25, whatever. They're saying, here's the price and the tax they get on top, but they're then marking it up, and people aren't noticing, but I noticed. So that's something I would
Yeah, I would
trust.
notice too, that's no bueno.
Marina Grill, so.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Hold on, Gene.
Oh, I apologize. You're not that good with it. I'm not.
A couple of issues I have that I'd like some closure on. I've been going back and forth with, my whole area there was new construction on 13. And when I built, I followed your ordinances for underground wiring, all electric, chemical, television, other communication facilities, both main and service lines, servicing new development shall be provided by underground wiring. Lots which abut existing easements or public rights of way or overhead electric, telephone distribution supply lines and service connections have been installed, may be supplied with electric and telephone service from those overhead lines, but the service connections from the utilities, overhead lines shall be installed underground. Okay, so I was there first, the homes went in across from me, and for a period a couple of years ago, our road was unpaved. They ripped the whole thing up and it was gravel for like a whole summer. When they were building the homes across the street, they didn't take advantage of that to run their utilities underground. I thought they were going to, then boom, the road was put in, I came back and the wires were still coming off the house across the street. And another one on Ocean Ave actually goes to their pool house behind them, stuck on there with like a hook and eye, and then goes over to my pool on the side of the street. I complained about it at the time, I went back and forth, go to one before the zoning board, and I got an email from April Romeo on March 26, 2014. It said that the owner has advised me that they're waiting for JCP&L to respond to their request, and they were gonna put a new pole on the other side of the road, which I think you'll recall me having a conversation with you. I wasn't happy about that, because we didn't want new poles, but we had a situation where they paved the road and it wasn't done the right way, and so we have the pole on the other side of the road. The wires still go to my pole across the street. The pole's over there, but there's wires that go from the house across the street to me, and then there's wires that go from the house on Ocean to their quote-unquote pool house, and then across to my pole. So that was never rectified, and I don't understand why, and I would like it to be. Because now I still have a mess of wires going across the street, the pole on my side, and I have a new pole across the street. For what reason, I don't know.
I'll have the building inspector or code enforcement get in touch with you about it. You have your info, right?
I'm sorry?
April has all your info, correct?
I'm not sure that you do, because I haven't been getting like the emails of the updated ordinance on the turf and all that. I never got that, so I can step aside afterwards and give you my emails.
You wanna give us two right now?
I'll do it right when I'm done speaking. I don't have time for that. I have another issue. The house across the street from me that we were all approved for certain plans and certain dimensions and all
What the
that.
address is when you say the house across the street from you?
97. It was purchased by the owner on Ocean to do like an L-shaped pool, much like 12th Avenue did. You know what I'm talking about? And at that time, when it started going up, very, small footprint of the house, we were told that it was gonna be, half the lot was gonna be a pool, and the other half was gonna be a pool house. And my husband was concerned at the time because he was like, what is that? Is that a rental house? It didn't match the plans that were approved, so we wanted to know what it was. And we were told at the time that it was a pool house, but for the purpose of just that pool, like the other pool house was. It doesn't seem to be that. It seems to be residence. It has bedrooms, it has beds in it, and it doesn't have any off-street parking.
And this is a house behind 97, you said?
No, the address is 97.
The address is 97.
It has its own address because it was its own lot, and it was was supposed to be a house similar to mine or similar to the one next to it, which I think is 99. It was a large house that was approved, but the guy on Ocean bought it, you know, the L-shaped lot, he bought both of them, and that was gonna be his pool and his pool house. But it doesn't have any off-street parking, and it seems to be a residence, it's a 3-story, and they have beds that you can see, they're with bedroom furniture and all that, so they don't have any off-street parking. Dave, my husband David has called Bianchi on that a number of times, he said he'd get back to him, he never did. I called Bianchi before Monday, spoke to you, left a message, he didn't get back to me. I called earlier this week, he didn't get back to me. So, yeah, that's why I'm here. I don't prefer to do this in the public portion, but I have to because I'm not getting answers. And as far as the telephone call thing, that's going on 2 years. So, that's that. Did you want to say something? You're just,
Thank you.
okay, I'm not done, I have another.
You have 15 seconds.
Oh, gosh. Regarding the ordinance that you just approved, my concern is if I add on to my lot, will I be able to go for a variance to do my property in a similar fashion? I mean, if I was to add on to my lot, because I own another
You
lot.
can always apply for a variance.
And do it, and then possibly get an approval to do it in the same fashion as I have.
You can apply for, yeah.
Okay.
You can apply for a
10
variance.
seconds, a suggestion for the specials, for the noise and all that when they come out. I notice they don't give tickets for noise, and when they come out of a club, I understand, they're in a club, boom, boom, all night long. We all do it ourselves, once every 10 years, and we go out and just like acting up again.
That's your 10 seconds.
They come
Your 10
out,
seconds.
give them a ticket for noise.
Thank you.
They understand that.
Yeah, we did.
You don't.
We did. All
I
right.
see
Thank
the
you,
cops
thank
and
you.
they bite right by, they don't.
Yes, George.
I'm still at that once every 10 years, it's not true.
Really?
George Don, House 111 Third Avenue. First of all, about the time limitations. I remember when the meetings would start at 8, we wouldn't get out of here until 11.
My wife and I were talking about that tonight.
Depending on the situation. The other thing about the town being busy, I owned a restaurant for 20 years. I needed the summer people, not to lie. Is it a hassle? Is it crazy? I think it was crazier in the 70s and 80s. And is it getting busier now? Maybe I don't see it as much, or because I don't go out unless it's a benefit. But I think the cops do a great job, the fire company at first aid. There's always going to be problems in town. So even Asbury, if you ask people that live in Asbury, it was on the news a year ago, people were starting to complain that it's too busy. But people said, you want to go back to when there was plenty of parking and the business didn't make money, it's a catch-22. You're never going to have it right. It's impossible to have it right.
85 is crazy, it led to the 12 o'clock closing. That's how wild that
It's
was.
not our job to get customers for businesses.
That did not work out.
I needed businesses when I was in business.
Yes.
But it's not a village.
Angela Pike, 319 Fifth Avenue. Is there a town-wide ordinance for live music outside past a certain time and number of pieces, or is it per establishment?
I mean, it depends. So, you know, we have concerts at Piano Plaza. They could have, I don't know how many pieces.
Right, but they're done.
So, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you took a good look at our noise ordinance, as I stated before, after a certain time, you're not allowed to play people.
So is it after 10 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, it's, when you take a look at it, it's pretty much 24 hours.
It's anytime.
It's anytime. The police, again, the reason, my understanding, the reason why it was written this way is it's very restricted. So it gives the police an opportunity to issue a summons based on the circumstances that they're facing. So really, it's 24 hours a day. Now, the police have discretion. So if you have a party in your backyard, you got the radio on, and your neighbor next door is like, that's bothering me, I want them to get issued a ticket, the police are gonna come and say, no, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, you got a full band in your backyard, then, yeah, the police are gonna be like, well, you're gonna get a ticket.
I get that, but as far as like the bars and the restaurants, I've noticed that La Dolce Vita now has outdoor music, and there seems to be more and more pieces, and it seems to be louder and louder. 10th Avenue Burrito has expanded, and they now have outdoor music, and it's getting louder. Anchor, so I'm just wondering, where do we draw a line? Is there a time that we cut it off?
And even on the north end, I can tell you that sound traveled, you know where I am on my, I can hear the music from all of these establishments.
Oh, no, I believe me, I get complaints about people who can hear the music from Bar A throughout town, from Headliner, which is even in the.
Yeah, I think I hear it from Headlining.
You know, depending on the wind, yeah, you could hear, bands from all over town, depending on which way the wind.
So that's why I'm just wondering, is there a cutoff? Do we say 10 o'clock, no more outdoor music? Do we say?
No, it's, again, if you look at the strict interpretation of the ordinance, then yes. But do we enforce that on bars and restaurants? No. Again, the police have discretion with regard to it. So as a woman who came before, she said she called about Anchor Tavern 30 times.
Right.
You know, the police went there, I don't imagine they wrote 30 tickets. I don't know if they wrote even one, because they have discretion to say, all right, well, it's not unreasonable. Could you say living on 5th Avenue, it's unreasonable that you hear bar anticipation at 1 o'clock in the morning? You can make that case. For somewhere like the Dolce Vita that's got maybe a 3-piece band that's playing at 9 o'clock at night, I don't think we would issue them a summons for that.
And I'm not saying that it's unreasonable, I'm just saying with more and more, 9th Avenue Pier and now Marina Grill, and some that we have no control over that are, the next town over. But what do we do, to say the lady had 30 complaints and not one ticket was written? I don't think she's making up the 30 complaints. That's 30 times that music was kind of loud. What, if anything, is being done? That's why I didn't know if there's an ordinance, then it kind of makes it very cut and dry. It says 10 o'clock, no more outdoor music.
Right, well, there's, again, in the context of that ordinance, you can't, your noise is not permitted to leave your property line, whether you're a commercial business or a residential home. So, again, the police have discretion as to how they enforce that ordinance. The ordinance is extremely stringent, extremely. But our police department understands the type of town we are, the type of business we have, so they apply it as it is. So if your question is, should we do another ordinance?
No, please, we've had
We could have put one on top of it, like it would be a moot ordinance, because we already have it.
I was just asking if there was one in existence.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, there's one in existence, but it doesn't necessarily say outdoor music has to end at a certain time. It's noise. So in other words, let's say a bar has a band inside, they open up the doors. That can be even louder than having a 2-piece band on the corner, by like Stable or something. I will tell you that one of the things the Belmar Business Partnership is working on this year is having Saturday night music in front of the businesses. So I actually think that it's a positive thing to have music in town. I really do. I think it's an opportunity for us to attract people who like music. Once again, doing something to attract a certain type of person. Again, to answer your question, there's already an ordinance in place. How it gets applied is on a case-by-case basis by our police department.
If I could just help you out for a minute, I was a police officer for 25 years, and I wrote noise tickets at 6 o'clock in the evening for really loud bands. It's all a question of circumstance. When you come up on it, and there's been parties even on the terrace that I've written tickets to at 4 in the afternoon because it was just so out of control. So what the police department tries to do is when we get on site is to see how we can control it and handle the noise. But if it's, if we get 20 complaints on one place, the noise is just driving me crazy. I've written tickets myself at 3, 4, 6 o'clock at night, way before the 10 o'clock noise ordinance goes into effect. Everything is on a case-to-case basis. Even with this Anchor Tavern, I mean, it might be getting a little bit out of control when the police department shows up. They agree with them and they turn the music down and calm it down. So even though if you have 30 complaints, I mean, they're working with the police department, and it doesn't rise to the level of the summons, especially where she lives with the new buildings and everything, and where it's echoing. The police officers get on scene. It might not be loud on the street level, but the echoing between the buildings and where she is living could be the big problem.
Right, as you
But-
said, depending on the way the wind blows. I mean, there's times when I can hear the music in every establishment in town, and then there's other days that I don't. So that's why I was just wondering.
Yeah, so the noise ordinance is very flexible, and basically it's up to the police officer when they get on the scene to try to, rectify the problem.
Thank you.
Sure. Mike? 9:12.
5 minutes ago. Michael Cruz, 404 Ocean. Let's go by a couple things. First of all, Mayor, 2 pieces is a duo, not a band. 3 pieces is a trio, 4 pieces is a quartet, not a band. Okay?
What's a band?
Oh, 5 or more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the Beatles were not a band, just for,
Pardon me?
the Beatles were not a band.
No, it's a quartet. Number 2, they talk about all the loud kids and all that. Doesn't anybody remember about, I know you guys don't, but let's go back about 50 years when the drinking age was 18 in this town, and there were a few more establishments that served liquor. See how they reacted to the norm of the time. And you gotta remember what the norm of the time was. And that was Vietnam era and everything else. Drinking age was 18. And there was a lodge, what, 6, 8, 10, 12? Yeah, you remember too. You weren't born, I know.
He wasn't.
Wait,
Come on,
look
Mike,
at that.
come on.
You got,
Tell me what we're getting at here.
okay, I'm now, sorry. As far as the kids and their cursing and bad language, take a walk by some of these establishments that sell no liquor, sell ice cream and yogurt, and have long lines, and listen to the language coming out of those people's mouth. Where they sell pizza, listen to how they talk. So it has nothing to do with liquor. It's how they're brought up and what their parents are not doing. Being ancient, I forgot the other stuff I was talking about.
All right. We'll call that a wrap, 9:15. Make a motion to close the public portion and adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.